Good afternoon, everybody. This is Nick, and this is Do It Live, the Autonomy Students podcast. This is the first week of season 8 of Autonomy, and tonight I'll be your host along with Jerry, who's going to be pressing buttons and making magical things happen behind the scenes so that you can enjoy a wonderful sample of the buffet that is Autonomy. So this is week 1. The season's just kicked off after a build-up, an influx of new energy, new students, new invigorated levels of optimism, excitement, and passion. It's just been a magical week. It's been one of my favorite weeks in Autonomy so far, and I've been hanging around here and participating since season 5. So I'm going to be coming up on my 2-year autoniversary. Yeah, can I get away with that word? Next year. So what we're going to do on today's show is recap the week. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's been happening. We're going to play some clips, whet your appetite, and hopefully we've got a few people on the call tonight. Hopefully we can get their participation, get some conversations going, maybe share some stories, reflect about what went well in the week, what we're looking forward to over the next 11 weeks. And it should be a really good time. So thank you for being here. Those of you who are here live, thank you for being here. Those of you who are watching this on the replay, it's an honor to be talking to you and presenting. And with that, let's get started. So the way I usually do this, this is my 3rd time hosting Do It Live. The first 2 times were an absolute pleasure. I had a very good time. I'm not as well dressed as I was on my first episode. I didn't bring my suit with me. I'm actually staying with my parents at the minute, getting in some quality family time. I had a small suitcase, and so apologies for that. But it's nice to keep it casual sometimes. So yeah, what I usually do is I go back a week and I start from Saturday or Sunday a week ago. And then I just work through the week and let you know what's been happening and what's been going on. But before I get into that, I would like to invite Jerry, my co-host, to come off mute and say a few words about how you're feeling tonight. How are you looking forward to the episode? What's going on, Jerry? How are you doing?
I'm good, Nick. Me and you are not wearing our suits today, but that's fine. We are just gonna share some clips like you mentioned and have a good time. And I am ready to pull these clips whenever you give me the green light, Nick.
Wicked. So thank you very much, Jerry. The last time I hosted, Jerry was my co-host, and it went really well, I thought, from my point of view. Jerry was an excellent co-host. Jerry's been putting in some serious time since his first season of Autonomy. I think this is your 2nd now, if I'm not mistaken. Still showing up, putting in the hours, putting in the workouts. It's an inspiration to see and a pleasure to be working with you. So let's get on with the program. The first place I wanted to start was last Sunday. So a week ago, last weekend, we had a couple of meet and greet sessions. New students are arriving. Some students are unsure what to expect. They've been through the enrollment process. They've made the decision. They've taken the leap, and they're arriving. And they're fresh and they're new and they're looking around, and we like to make the welcome very warm and provide a soft and gentle landing to let the newbies arrive and comfortably with no pressure. So we held an event which was a meet and greet, and Joshua and Richard invited some of the Autonomy team as well as some previous graduates to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their experiences and on their journey to Autonomy. That was part 1 of the meet and greet. It got extremely good at part 2. I'll say a few things about part 1. It was a lot of fun. A lot of faces popped up who I haven't spoken to for a while. A lot of very excellent people with interesting projects going on, and it was a pleasure to see their faces again, and it made me think, oh, I need to check in with some of these people. which I still have yet to do. But the day after that, once the students had kind of got oriented and have been welcomed by the team and by the grads, then it's their turn to come off mute and to talk and to introduce themselves and set their intentions. And I have to say one thing about this season 8 influx of new students is they've hit the ground running. Before the course even started, they were getting involved, setting up interviews, downloading the programs and the software and the tech, and getting familiar and asking questions and posting comments all over the place and introducing themselves. It was just wonderful to see such enthusiasm right out of the gate. And then, so the first clip that I wanted to put on tonight is from Meet and Greet Part 2, which is where the new students introduce themselves, as I just mentioned. And the clip that I picked out is of a student who is actually pretty known to the Autonomy crew, and but more specifically to the wider Grand Theft World community. And this student was Maddie, aka Space Jelly, one of the perhaps best internet handles I've ever heard in my life. I have no idea where she got that name from. I'll have to find out one day. It reminds me of the name of the first band I was ever in, which was a jazz band, and we did weddings and played gigs at libraries and that sort of thing. And we came up with the pretty impressive moniker, I think, of Primordial Soup. So maybe the Primordial Soup and the Space Jelly have something in common. I'm not sure. But this first clip that Jerry, if you've got ready to go, is of Maddie's introduction and Richard's gracious welcoming. And it's a great clip because it really shows the quality of people who arrive in autonomy, and also the quality of the instruction and the tutoring that we receive here. And this clip is it's not too long. It's a couple of minutes. It's about 5 minutes long, but you get to see a really wonderful example of real-time problem solving in action. The value of having the value of having an abundance mindset where ideas are flowing, creativity is coming out. And so I think this was an excellent clip to kick off the show tonight. I asked Maddie's permission that I could show this, and she was very graciously said I could. And so she couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately. I think she is otherwise engaged. But yeah, Jerry, if you've got that clip, please roll it. That's the one.
Howdy.
Say hi.
Hi,
Hey.
Maddie.
How are you?
AKA Space Jelly, everybody. You might have heard her featured on Grand Theft World. Here she is in person.
Hello. I'm very lucky and happy to be here. It's a great group of people. Very excited. Everybody's quite beautiful, skilled, talented. Yeah.
And what are you looking for as your big breakthrough in your first season?
It's a really great question. I think I'm really looking for some clear vision of what I want. So I'm not sure what I want. I know I want to know what I want. So that would be helpful.
It's like trying to make a decision of where in the world do you want to live if you could live anywhere. And it's like a hard decision to make. And so while you're making that over the next couple of years, then let's figure out, where do you want to go on vacation? Where do you want to go spec out? Because some of these places you thought you might want to live, you get there and you're like, I'd never want to live here. I don't even want to visit here. Like the postcards lied, right? So it's the same metaphor as what we want to do for the rest of our lives. What I want to do is be a good person and take steps that bring me the results I'm seeking. And I think if I act in integrity with each step, I can really never be in some place I shouldn't be. And so the goals can change, but the methodology of how to attain those goals is the same. Right? I'm not going to go someplace where I have to like mistreat people or berate people as part of my, like, that'd be silly. But people do that every day for a paycheck because they don't know what else to do. And they don't know a better way of how they're doing what they're doing. So I don't know, I just, maybe I'm a little too cerebral about it, but I always just see it's more work not to put in the work. So I like, I just got okay with putting in the work, and I don't see it as work. I see it as like life, and it's fun. I have a good time doing it.
Yeah, I've pretty good skills at learning things as well, can pick up things pretty easily. So I'd like to kind of fine tune that and meet some people, get a little bit of a bigger taste of the world, and see what's possible.
Well, as an example, you're already good at thinking, reading, researching, organizing, marshaling content, and publishing it in a literary style. There's other people seeking to do that, like The Last American Vagabond and Unlimited Hangout. They need research and articles like that. So is that something on your radar? Would you like to get your writing in front of a bigger audience of people who like get to see it instead of just a couple nerds like us who get to see it?
Absolutely, yeah. That'd be great. Dream come true.
All right, well, you're 1 degree away, because Scotty, who was here a little bit ago, like, he's working over there, and he might be inspired to cover some of your articles, or something he says on his show might inspire you. So there's ways to build that synergy. And then you can just say, hey, how about if I do a free article for your site and you see what you think, you know, if you want to continue publishing me.
Yeah.
And if he says no, then you just have to say why. Right. Well, I think your stuff's too long, or you don't have enough pictures, or not enough links. And then next week you do the thing and you come back and you wait till he stops making up objections and just says, yes, that's great. It meets all our requirements. Let's do this.
Absolutely. Yes. And I come from a good background of sales. So I have a good capacity for spotting objections and overcoming those.
Do you know the difference between an objection and a complaint?
Objection is something that can be solved.
And a complaint is something that's not going to hold up the deal, but the objection will. So if I sit down with the client and we're talking about painting their house and they say, I don't like the color of your shirt, I ignore that. But if they say, I don't like the quality of your paint, I can get you a different brand. Would you like, you know, Sherwin-Williams instead of Benjamin Moore, right? So the objection will keep them from going forward, but the complaint is just something like, they don't like your font. Okay, great. After you do business with us, you'll never see our marketing font again, because we're doing business now, right? So identifying and distinguishing and discerning between the complaint and the obstacle, and knowing when and how to treat either. And if somebody keeps coming back to you with, you solved their obstacle and solved their obstacle, and they keep bringing up obstacles, then I would say, you know what, Maddie, just let's get this on the table. Like, what are all the obstacles you're facing? And then I'll address them, but I don't want you to keep adding to the list as I solve them, because it makes it seem fruitless. And this is supposed to be a fruitful conversation, right? So just knowing how to do what you already do with a couple little improvements, with access to new opportunities and support of a good group of people that wasn't like thinking about your endeavors and your goals as they do now during this season. It's going to be a really interesting metamorphosis. So you get out of the cocoon, you get to try on the butterfly wings, and go look in the mirror and see how that fits you.
Very excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Expertly done. Played and paused at exactly precisely the right moments, like a professional. That's why I love working with you, man. So this clip is just packed full of value. It is wall to wall, floor to ceiling value. I ran out of note space to when I was jotting down the topics that are hit here, but a couple of things I wanted to mention that I really liked is how Richard emphasized, it says, for your first season of autonomy. And this is one of the things that I never get tired of talking about, is you can keep coming back, and you can keep gleaning and improving and learning and sipping from the well, and improving yourself. And a lot of us, we arrive here with different pieces of the puzzle. So in Maddie's case, she's got some sales skills. Fantastic. She's already good at learning how to learn. These are key pieces of the puzzle. Some people come here, they don't know those things. Me, for example, I didn't know sales. I didn't have a system for learning how to learn. But it sounds like Maddie might benefit from the network here, knowing some people who she can put her work in front of, and collect those objections and learn how to overcome them and improve the work so that it appeals, so that she can get it out there, and then launch maybe a side hustle or a freelance gig, or whatever it is that she decides she wants to do when she figures out what it is she wants to do. And that is another good point of this video, is Maddie says she doesn't know what I want to do. I want to find out what I want to do. I resonated when I heard this as well, because I arrived with the same thing. I just knew I had to learn and I needed to change. And in order to change, I don't know what to do. So I'm here to learn. And I kept coming back and kept showing up and just had faith that when I knew enough and learned enough, the path would kind of appear. And, you know, that was absolutely true, and it did happen. Another thing is talking about in this clip, methodology. I think it's very important that what we learn here are processes and methodologies that we can then take with us for the rest of our lives to any place we live, to any community or group that we find ourselves among. And it's extremely powerful to have that stuff in your tool belt, you know. So I thought that was a wonderful clip. Maddie as well was making waves in the Grand Theft World community as an excellent researcher and writer. And she has already formed a book club with her own Discord server. She's pulling people into that, setting up the meetings. And the first book that they're going to be, or we, I should say, because I'm in this club as well, that we're going to be reading and talking about as a group is Whitney Webb's latest release, One Nation Under Blackmail, but more on her and her book a little bit later. So before I move on to the next clip, I would just like to invite anybody on the call. Do you have any memories of when you first arrived and how that landing, what that landing into autonomy in the community was like for you? Anybody out there feel inspired to come off mute and share a story or an anecdote? All right.
What was the question, Nick?
Oh, how was your landing, your arrival in autonomy? Was it a soft landing? Were you anxious? And how were you received by the community?
Yeah, so I found the autonomy through Mark Pastor's website, and Mark is very straightforward. He's like, look, if you are in the military, then you are basically supporting slavery. So I was like, man, I want to find out more. I want to keep learning. And when I came into autonomy, I was expecting the community or Richard to tell me, oh no, like you should. I was expecting him to be harsh, and he was super gentle, and the whole community was super welcoming, and that's what it was like for me.
Excellent. Yeah. Mark Passio is intense. He will yell into the microphone, into your ears for 3 hours straight if you let him. Yeah. Sometimes though, that righteous anger, that fury, I think the world needs more of it at the things that go on. You know, if you read, for example, Whitney Webb's work and the networks and the shenanigans that she uncovers, those things should trigger righteous fury and anger, and I think the world needs more of that. But not everybody wants to tune in to Mark Passio for that, and not everybody receives information particularly well when they're being yelled at. So I'm glad that nobody yelled at you when you arrived, Jared, and it's good that nobody took you to task in the same way that Mark Passio might have done, and accepted that you. But you know, if you don't mind me sharing, I know that now your situation has changed drastically. You're in a completely different place. And it's almost like Mark Passio would be proud.
Yeah,
anybody else want to? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm glad he did yell at me.
Yeah, sometimes you need yelling at, right? Anybody else want to share a little story or an anecdote about their arrival and landing here? We got quite a few new students on the call. No pressure, no worries. But any of the graduates or people who've been here a little bit longer? If not, we can move on. All right. So after the meet and greet, which happened on Sunday, and Sundays is our usual Q&A slot where we get together and we bring our questions and we problem solve as a group, with Richard setting the pace and leading the example, is the GTW Grand Theft World podcast, which is every Sunday. It starts at 9 p.m. in a time zone somewhere. For me, it starts at 2 a.m. I tend to wake up on a Monday morning and head to the gym and tune in live to the back end of the show. And, you know, it's the best comedy show on the internet. It's certainly one of the longest comedy shows on the internet. And I wanted to I've picked a clip to play tonight, which highlights the kind of comedy that you can experience and enjoy and look forward to if you tune in to a Grand Theft World episode. And these are long. You've got to have stamina, or you've got to have a schedule broken up, and you can eat it in smaller pieces across the week. 6-7 hours, longer sometimes if it's a special occasion. The podcast is over 100 episodes now. It is an absolute treasure trove of important information and artifacts and pieces of evidence that are on the record in a time capsule that people will be very grateful that they have access to for years to come, I think. But I picked out a clip, which I think they mentioned in this clip that it's 3 a.m. at the time of the broadcast. So people are getting a little delirious and tired, and this is when the good jokes and the silly banter and the humor really peaks. So Jerry, if you've got that queued up, please roll the clip. Let's go.
Think that this simulation is an intelligence test, and there's cool people on the other side, and the douchebags stay, pretty much where they're at.
Agreed.
Just wait for the next bus. It'll be short. Now that is not related to the verb. Don't be. These are completely different sentences and paragraphs in the transcript. Your Honor.
If you want to be comforted, you can always go to Costco.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
I love you too, Costco. Although I haven't ever. I don't think I've been to a Costco.
You can get your mRNA meat there soon, I'm sure.
There we go.
But their brand is called Mr. Na, so you don't notice it's the mRNA meat. It just says Mr. Na.
That's very convenient. Very convenient.
Yeah. Spaces and commas can really change context.
We call that amphibole in logic terms. The ambiguity of language, especially written.
Yeah, because like if you leave a comma out of a sentence, like people are like, it's punctuation's no big deal.
Oh,
all right, tell me if it's a big deal or not.
Logic course, yeah. See how much of a deal.
I heard you helped your Uncle Jack, comma, off the horse, or I heard you help your Uncle Jack off the horse. Now, which of those might be slander or libel and get you $1 billion fine, and which of those might be an accurate description about you and your Uncle Jack getting on and off the horse? He needed a hand.
No comment.
It's like 97. Now, if you
where
watch,
do you place that comma?
If you watch yourself some Yellowstone, you can have Jimmy pay off that joke, and he can tell you take it afterwards too.
And that's a classic example of amphibole.
That's not bad. 3 a.m. reference.
That is pretty good.
That's funny if you've watched it. And
the reference I have is not funny. It's very academic, but that's a funny reference. That's a perfect description of what amphibole is. So kudos. Hell yeah.
You got to know who the character Jimmy is and what is his role at the 3 Nines Ranch or whatever that is. 4 Nines to 5 Nines. I forget. It's been a while since I saw that episode.
So I think we're ready for
LD. Back me up. You've seen Yellowstone.
It's probably 6 9s. I can't remember either. I think new season starting soon.
That would have been a funnier name for the ranch, but maybe a little too lewd for their intended audience.
They should have named it Zorro Ranch. It's a little too literal.
I mean, I don't understand.
I
don't understand what the dude in the mask and the cape had to do with Epstein. Can someone piece that together? Why were they at Zorro's ranch? Oh, what? Wait a minute. What? That was Bill Richardson's ranch? The governor of New Mexico? What's it have to do with sword fight? Not that type of show. Can't explain that one either.
It is a comedy show.
It's like a Lindros thing.
We're just helping to remind everyone that.
Yeah, speaking of which, being behind Crowder is not a position I want to be in.
Sword
probably
fighting.
not in front either, but maybe side by side.
Side by side, neither above nor below in this relationship of freedom. Yeah, neither master nor slave. Might just be a spectator. Don't know what you're doing over there.
Time to check out Charles I, maybe, and the Privy Council.
I like making jokes that only people who have seen something 30 episodes can get, because, like, for those 5 or 6 people, like, we resonate for a moment there. What were you saying,
it's a bro moment.
We're broing out.
Time to get to KC1, right? Privy Council.
King Chucky the First. Spoiler alert. I'm pretty sure he met his demise at the hands of the people.
Huh.
King Chucky the Second.
I wonder if they've learned from that, Rich. Do you think they've learned from that?
Probably not. So what they do is this is a video from TrueStream Media. Let me set it up. It's from earlier today. It was premiered. I think they probably put it on their subscriber-only channel because it referred to when the king is coronated. I'm pretty sure he's already coronated. And they go through the history of how he purposely, he has like 5 names, but he made sure it's King Charles. So he's King Charles III. And there is an intentional, symbolic legacy that's being carried forward by the king using that name and serving in that position at this time in history. So it's all very interesting. And I don't want to take away or like, blow all that fine work they did at the beginning, but I do think this particular section with the Star Chamber, even without the additional context, can be understood, and people could take stock in comparing on your scales, right? You're going to take an assessment of the situation. This thing from the 1600s that should have gone bye-bye when America was created, because we have the Fifth Amendment. We got this right not to search and seizure and not to incriminate ourselves with the government under being in torturous situations. Some of the January 6th people have been held in inhumane situations, they're a terrorist from Afghanistan from 20 years ago.
Right.
So that's going on. It's the relevant subject, and we're taking some history, and we're smashing it into those current events, and we're going to see what everyone thinks. And it's up to you what you think. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just showing you how to think by comparing and contrasting, which is the only way the brain can think. And when you're denied one of those sides of compare and contrast, that's control. And when you have multiple options and can use your 5 senses to assess what evidence does exist and what's meaningful and substantial to the argument, that's called self-reliance, thinking for yourself, logic, reason. All the great things of freedom, entrepreneurism that's ever happened in this world are responsible because of those things manifesting through conscious individuals. And without that, you're going to have something that looks like 1984 plus Brazil plus Idiocracy plus the Gulag Archipelago, which is so awful they would never take the time to make a movie about it.
Plus 1984. They want to throw in some book references.
Like they made Dr. Zhivago, but they don't really ever show you Gulag Archipelago, the 12-year series.
Island of Dr.
Moreau?
Yeah.
That's just H.G. Wells and eugenics and transhumanism in the late 1800s, Tony. There's no need to know about that with what's going on today with the Julian Huxley legacy of UNESCO and the World Eugenics Forum, bringing us Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset. And you'll take the mRNA and like it, and if not, you'll eat it and become it.
Don't forget about the Galton Institute. I mean, the eugenics.
Take it!
We're going to call this the Take It podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, Jared. Yeah, I think this is a wonderful clip. I really love the back and forth. They say it's a bro moment on this clip, and what I think it really encapsulates is the joy of friends and co-workers and colleagues who are passionate about what they do, working together on something that they really care about. And it reminds me of back when I was in a band with my best friends, and we would pack all our stuff into a van and drive around and perform at gigs and concerts and festivals and things. And we just did it because we loved doing it so much. Our music wasn't very good. Not many people paid much attention to it, but it just brought us joy. And I thought the joy really came through in that clip. And, it's a great mix of references. There's puns, that references to movies. There's academic logic, terminology, callbacks to previous episodes. I think if you on Meet the Grand Theft World, you probably didn't understand much of what was in that clip, but it stands to a testament as to how close the community around Grand Theft World becomes. They really knit together because of that passion, and that professionalism and excellence really draws out the best in people. And so I thought that was a good clip to capture and show. And then you've got Richard's excellence as a host and his setup for the next clip, and introducing of topics. And I just think I never miss an episode, and it is one of the best things out there on the internet. And one fun fact is that everybody working on that is a graduate of the Autonomy course. And that project itself was basically born here in Autonomy, and now it's happening, and it's been running for 100 episodes. The last 2 episodes featured interviews with Whitney Webb, who is an unbelievably great investigative journalist, and very much worth listening to and checking out. So thank you for sharing that clip, Jerry. So now we'll get on with the autonomy program of the last week. So after Sunday night's Grand Theft World, Monday rolls around, and there wasn't much on the calendar this week for Monday, so we'll go ahead to Tuesday, where we had the spiritual revolution. This is a weekly meeting where Agnieszka, who is a graduate, and Ryan, also a graduate of autonomy, they get together. And I haven't been able to attend these. They're not compatible with my sleep schedule. Although I'm working on that, I'm getting better at attending things that are at antisocial hours, let's say. I don't know if there's anybody on the call today who wants to speak to either spiritual revolution sort of in general, or the most recent instance of that. I'll give a few seconds of space to see if anybody wants to jump on. Doesn't sound like it. All right, so that just tells me that more of us need to attend, more of us need to find out what's going on there, because I know Agnieszka and I know Ryan, and they're both great people, wealth of knowledge, amazing life experiences, wonderful to talk to, and everyone on this call, shame on you. We need to attend Spiritual Revolution and find out what's going on over there and show them some support. But that is on the menu. That is Tuesdays. I can't remember what time. I'm not very good with the time zones, but if you get a chance, please go along, check in and see what's going on there. So after Tuesdays, we're on to Wednesday, and there's a little more going on. This week, Wednesday, for me personally, was extremely exciting because we had a guest teacher joining autonomy and teaching us a course over the next 12 weeks, which is Philosophy 101, and this guest teacher was Jay Dyer. So Jay Dyer, if you don't know, he is, I think he describes himself as a minor e-celeb. He does live streams and very high-level content describing geopolitics, theology. He dissects films, symbolism in films, and Hollywood. He is a machine. He puts out massive amounts of content. He also does live debates and Q&As that last hours and hours, and anyone can hop on and talk to him and ask him questions and debate his ideas. And this is it's a wonderful thing to witness. I believe these days that the art of conversation and exchanging ideas in a way that is mutually beneficial is kind of hard to find, let's say. People get triggered, they're emotionally invested in their ideas, they feel attacked when people disagree with them or break down their ideas. Jay is an excellent example of how to really employ the intellectual self-defense, which we study and learn and practice here in autonomy. He is academically educated in philosophy and I think in religion, the history of religion in particular. Yeah, and I've been following him now and listening to his work, probably coming up to a year. I was introduced to his work by a fellow season 5 graduate. I'd never heard of him before. So when it was announced that Jay would be teaching us, I was extremely excited. I set my alarm clock. I got up and logged on an hour early. And then I went back to bed, set my alarm again, slept for 45, 50 minutes, got up on time, and I managed to catch the first 2 hours of the first lecture. Then I fell asleep and missed the Q&A, but I managed to catch it on the replay. And so the clip that I picked to show you now is just Jay sort of giving the intention of the lesson and the course and saying what he's planning to teach us over the next 12 weeks. So Jerry, if you could pull that clip up and play that, please. I think that's roughly about 3 minutes, but it's good to hear Jay describe it in his own words.
Welcome everybody. Thank you for having me, Rich. Really cool to be here. You know, I did, when I was doing undergrad and grad work, I did teach quite a few student class situations, but I never taught an entire semester. I left the university setting because I really felt like I could do better doing it autonomously. And here we are at Autonomy. So I think Richard has the right idea about where to go with education. But I've been into and studying philosophy at various levels and in various ways for about 20 years. So I'm happy to be here, honored to be here. I do have some unique takes that I think will be different than what you would get in a traditional legacy university setting. So hopefully we can get into some of that tonight, kicking it off, and we're going to get pretty deep. So, jot down your questions. I'm a big fan of open Q&A at the end. We've done in my Discord, I think we have about 8,000 or 9,000 in the Discord. And we've been doing these open Q&As that go sometimes 6-10 hours. So I'm totally used to that. Very happy to have people ask, lengthy end of lecture Q&As. So be sure and jot down your questions and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. You're not going to offend me. It's not going to bother me if you disagree, if you think I'm wrong about something, you don't like, we're not going to be talking a whole lot about theism or any of that tonight. That doesn't really play into tonight's topic. So if you're anti-theist, if you're agnostic, none of that bothers me. It's fine for you to, have your positions. I'm not going to be coming at you or critiquing your positions unless you want that. Right. So you can request that, sir. I would like to request a demolishing of my paradigm. I'm happy to offer that if you want that. Most people don't really want that, but tonight's just gonna be an introduction. So we're going to look at what is philosophy all about. The object of this course will be to take us from this introductory situation to a pretty good knowledge, a deep knowledge, hopefully, that's what we're going to shoot for, of the history of Western philosophy. Obviously, we have to pick some starting points. We can't go back and do all of Indo-European philosophy. We can't do all the Babylonian, Assyrian philosophy and whatnot. But what's most relevant, I think, for us in the West is the history of Western philosophy. And like I said, I've had this course at the legacy institutional setting many times over, and in many different ways. So I'm going to give you a better version of that. And I think, again, this is really the way to do it. Really, Richard is really pioneering when it comes to where education is going. So let's get into philosophy. What is philosophy? Well,
nice. Thank you. Excellent clip. I realized that he kind of repeated, or I repeated a lot of things that he said there. So a little bit of redundancy built in, but this first lecture was, in my opinion, he knocked it into orbit. It was engaging. It was entertaining. I learned a lot. There were some book recommendations at the beginning, which I immediately typed in and ordered, which is always good. I'm always happy to have an excuse to add more books to my library. And I think his point about where education is going is very pertinent and worth thinking about, because we're here in autonomy. We realize we need to learn, and we might not know what it is exactly that we need to learn, but we know we need to learn in order to move forward, to overcome, to level up, and to make the things we want to happen in life happen. And it's incredible, the day and age that we live in, where we can have access to people like Richard and like Jay, who can share their knowledge and experience and their ability to teach and to coach and to support and uplift others through the magic of the internet. And I really think that the part of the autonomy package where we get access to the main flagship course, which is the Autonomy 12-week course, but then you get these extra courses that are developed by Autonomy Unlimited, and it is just staggering value. But it is also, for me at least, it was transformative, because I ended up learning about things I never thought I would learn about, and going down avenues and asking questions I never anticipated. I didn't sign up to learn philosophy. And now I can't wait for this course to unfold. It's almost like waiting a week for the next episode is too long, and I have to work on my ability to stay awake to get on the Q&A and actually talk to Jay. So this is the place to learn. This is the place to grow. And this is the place to outgrow the previous programming, the faulty programming, the dodgy programming that the state has lined up for us in many cases. And I appreciate the fact that Jay mentions he's been through the legacy system. He's spent time in universities and debating professors, and he's gone through that, and he's outgrown it and he's created something that's better. And a couple of the takeaways that I got from this first lecture is the idea that the history of philosophy is a dialogue. And what happens is people make an argument and then people come along and say, well, I'm not sure about that argument. This is what I think. And then more people come along and they do the same. And so to understand any part of it, you really need to understand that whole chain. And this was kind of a revelation to me. So you can't really just jump in at the middle. It'd be like jumping in at the middle of a series. You know, you just start with season 4 or episode 5 of Game of Thrones. You're not going to have any idea who anyone is, what's going on. It won't make much sense. You might see a boob, or you might see someone's head get chopped off, and that's all well and good. But you're not going to understand the actual nuances of the storylines, the characters, the plot, and the development. And so it never occurred to me that the same thing is true for philosophy. And so I'm very excited to have Jay walk me through that dialogue. And the other takeaway I got from this was, through doing this, we learn to understand our opponent's position on things as good as, if not better than, they understand it. And by opponent, I just mean somebody you disagree with, maybe somebody you have an argument with or a difference of opinion. It's absolutely key and very critical and overlooked to know their position well. And if you can articulate their position as good as, or if not better than they can, then it's going to be much easier for you to state your case, to make your argument, to win minds, and to influence people. And I think that was a great takeaway as well, and a very good point. People these days, I think, tend to be so invested and emotional and triggered that they're not spending time to get to know what the opponent actually thinks and believes. They just paint a straw man and they set it on fire and they pat themselves on the back. And it's really not getting anybody anywhere. It's not building bridges. It's not healing divides. And so that's a skill that I'm very much looking forward to learning in this course. With that, I'd like to open the floor up to anyone else on the call who either checked out this first lecture or has some thoughts on Jay Dyer as a teacher, or has any anticipations or excitements or anything to say on this course, which will be happening in parallel to this season of Autonomy. Anybody out there want to make a comment on that?
Hey, gentlemen, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Michael. It's great to see your face. How are you doing?
Great. I just want to reiterate some of the points you made, because I feel very strongly about, like what Jay was talking about as far as, the learning atmosphere that is quite a bit different than the academic typical schooling world, is one in which people are being encouraged to ask questions. And Jay in particular, I think he did a really good job both at the front end and at the back end of kind of inviting people to ask questions and even disagree with him about what his premises are, what his ideas are. And to a large degree, that is certainly one of the things that I think makes autonomy very unique. And as we practice that kind of atmosphere and environment of allowing people to ask questions and to disagree respectfully, we get so much more. And really, this idea that conflict is our nature. Conflict is just a way to learn. And if we don't understand that conflict is also an opportunity, that if there's a disagreement or there's a misunderstanding, that's also an opportunity to learn. And unfortunately, the rest of the world is, oh God, that's conflict. Let's run. Let's get away from that, because it could be guns coming out. Next thing you know. But this is entirely the opposite of that. And just from my own experience in autonomy, I can say that, man, my mind has been expanded in so many new directions from just conversations that I've had with other students and graduates about ideas that they have, or specialties or knowledge that they have, or books that they've read, and their point of view that is, you know, entirely different from the point of view that I've been raised with, you know, gives me pause about, you know, some really significant things like human nature, like my own nature. You know, I can say that, you know, certainly one of the things that I learned, I mean, I'll tell you, just in this past, between the seasons, Tim Flynn came out with his May and the Magic Bullet that he does on Sundays. And, you know, I'm trying to support his effort and, you know, stay up to speed and try and give him some additional horsepower with, you know, keeping that thing going. But, you know, he's brought up some really interesting topics that are sitting out there on the shelves of, you know, of the known history of, you know, the past 50 years. Mae Brussels has put a lot of that stuff out there, and it's just sitting there. And for the most part, it is some really significant information about how things are done when it comes to, you know, the intelligence operations and the PSYOP operations and all that kind of stuff that's going on. And, you know, in particular, a particular figure that comes to mind is Mark Lane. You know, he's a kind of the ultimate entrepreneur of I keep forgetting the word, but the idea of the divide and conquer, the controlled opposition. Mark Lane is one that, you know, he came out with a book almost immediately. He was at JFK assassination as trying to be the lawyer to represent Oswald, you know, almost immediately. But it turns out he was controlled opposition, you know, and that's a significant lesson to learn that, like, most people just are not familiar with, but like learning about how he went about for the next 40 years and how that translated in all the movements that were essentially quelled because he was involved and he was able to, you know, kind of report on who are the peoples that are the movers and shakers in these particular movements. It, you know, it created an environment in which it's extremely hard to take a movement and, you know, turn it into a mature movement without government involvement getting in and blowing it up. So, like, knowing those techniques is something that's important. But that's what I got out of one particular person's effort in autonomy to inform the rest of us. And I mean, and we're all capable of that. And that's what's so wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Those are great points you just made, and I feel bad for not mentioning this project, Tim Flynn's project, May and the Magic Bullet. I haven't tuned into any of it and caught up with any of it, but I have talked to Tim. He's a wonderful guy, and I'm really glad that you are getting such value out of his efforts and his work. And yes, just to remind people, that's on Sundays. I can't speak to the contents, but Michael, I think you did a wonderful job there. And yeah, what you just mentioned about there's history that people aren't aware of, which if they were aware of it, they would act and move around and interact very differently. And sometimes I feel like people who are interested in history and follow Richard's work as a forensic historian, they're almost living in a different reality than the people who aren't aware of this kind of stuff, because the world works differently in the reality of the forensic historians and to the way it works in the reality of the people who aren't aware of it. And to your point about anyone can do this, that's absolutely true. It's anyone can pick up a book or read a series of articles, sit down, hit record, and say it in your own words and share it with people, send it out to a few people. And I think a large part of what we're doing here in Autonomy is really keeping alive valuable information that is empowering, that is healing in it by its nature, and that really builds people up instead of keeping them down in fear, in scarcity, and in an uncertainty. And so it's really, we're part of keeping something alive here. There's a torch, and it has been passed. It's been carried by wonderful people who do detailed and intricate work, passionate work, who make sacrifices to bring that work to us. And we can take that torch and we can run with it and we can pass it on. And so That's
Yeah,
your point.
well, I would just say that, you know, Jay also commented on the idea of, you know, that when somebody brings an alternative view or a you know, opposing view or a different point of view, it's an opportunity to test your ideas, to test your beliefs. That this is another thing that like gives you the opportunity to gain confidence in, you know, what you're thinking and what you're presenting and the information that you have available. Is it reliable information or is it unreliable information? Well, if I put it in front of 500 people that are, you know, intellectually capable of digging through the information and giving me questions in return that you know, really define and test the information that I've got, it's a huge boost to your confidence than to go out into the regular world and say, hey, I know this to be true, or I know this to be, you know, useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I had to laugh at Jay's joke in that clip there where he's saying, oh, hi, Jay, please, can you destroy my paradigm for me? And you know, I mentioned how entertaining he is as a teacher, and he was throwing in Mark Zuckerberg impressions. He was making quips about Donald Trump's golden toilet mixed in with philosophy. And that's just masterful, in my opinion, because you're engaged and you're paying attention. But this idea of like, excuse me, can you destroy my paradigm for me? This is an experience that so many people will do anything to avoid. They will do anything to avoid having their values challenged and their beliefs questioned and their presuppositions, which is something I learned about from Jay, brought under scrutiny. But actually, those of us who are chasing this idea of anti-fragility, which is a key theme that's running through this latest season of Autonomy, we want to be broken down so that we want to be hammered in the fire so that we become stronger. When we become sharper and we become better at doing what we are here to do. And that involves a certain amount of having your paradigm smashed to bits. And then you got to stand in the rubble and be like, okay, how do I build this back? But that's when the community and the learning and all this comes to the rescue, and they say, hey, it's all right, you know, we've been there and we got through it, and this is what we learned, and come with us, you know, and we'll do it together. So yes, I think I'm looking forward to having my paradigm smashed. Anyone else out there got any thoughts on Jay Dyer's course kickoff and launch? Or is that somebody?
Morning, Nick.
Hello.
Hey, Jerry. Hi. Morning, guys. Yeah, I almost verbatim share your excitement and thoughts on the Jay Dyer course and the value that we get as autonomy members. Yeah, the like you said, the comedy value that he brings and is worth the admission fee by itself. And I think that style makes it so much more accessible to a wider audience, for instance, myself, because, you know, the topic of philosophy can be presented in many ways, and it can be presented in a way that's very dry and very long-winded, and so I really appreciate his style, and just shows me what a normal person he is, that he's able to have. He's a very versatile person, having all these, being able to do all these impersonations, and just showing that he's not just a one-trick pony. He actually knows what's going on in the world, and he is part of the world. So yeah, I 100% agree with you guys in that regard, and I too look forward to, you know, what's in store. And I can't believe I'm excited about philosophy, but the way he made me think about what philosophy is really got me excited. So yeah, and well done for the podcast today. It's looking really good, sounding really good. Yeah, that's all me. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you, Van. Yes, Van, you are season 8. You are a new incomer and new arrival in Autonomy, and you are eager to get off mute and contribute and ask questions. And you brought you're bringing some fantastic energy. So thank you for helping out. You know, this is one of the best things about this podcast is when people feel comfortable enough and empowered enough to just unmute and yeah, take part. This is for everybody to share in. You know, it doesn't have to just be about me or graduates. It's really for everybody. And I'm just here to do this example. And I'm hoping that in future episodes and installments, Van, maybe you'll host one. Another of the Season 8 students will step up and take that plunge and do it live, because it's extremely, it's fun. You are well looked after, you are well taken care of in terms of support. And yeah, like I said, this is my third time and I'm just loving it as much as the first 2 times I did it. So consider it, man. I think you'd be a great host.
Oh, no, it really shows that you enjoy it. And yes, I am going to be applying. I have already applied, but
Awesome.
I'm going to be trying to host it with Monique. She's also a fellow Aussie. So anyway, good luck, guys. Thank you. I look forward to the rest of the program.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, so we got a lot of excitement about Jay Dyer's course, and a lot of excitement about philosophy, where previously there was none. And I'll just mention as well that one of the things I was extremely looking forward to was Tony Myers and Jay Dyer meeting and talking and having an exchange back and forth. And I got to see this happen in the Q&A. There's a few people who I want to see speak. I think to me, the most amazing lineup would probably be Mark Passio, Jay Dyer, Tony Myers, and Richard Grove. And just to see what came up out of that, because they're all compelling speakers, they're all very knowledgeable, but they're different. They have different opinions on things, different ideas about things. And Tony joined the Q&A and asked some questions, and it was very civilized between Jay and Tony. And Tony's going to turn up. He's very well educated and knowledgeable about philosophy, and I'm really excited to see what conversations they have, because it's just such a treat and such a blessing to have people who are so well read and passionate and educated, and to have access to them and to hear them speak in real time and go back and forward. So that's another aspect of this course that I'm extremely excited about. Okay, we are on, so that was Wednesday. The other thing I should mention, and I would like to draw your attention to about Wednesdays, is the Wealth Battle. This is Lisa Manfredi and Kaysen's project. Most of you, I think, will know Lisa Manfredi as the person who took your blueprint discovery call when you were going through the process of enrollment into autonomy. She hosts the Wealth Battle, where you can learn things such as budgeting and how to make your money work for you. Again, one of these things we should have been taught in school, and most of us weren't. And unless we had a parent or a guardian who was good at that stuff and had worked it out and could pass on that knowledge, it's criminally absent from the education that we get. And I think to fill that gap is a wonderful effort, extremely valuable, and I wanted to put that on your radar. That happens on Wednesdays. There's a Discord where they play the board game Cash Flow, which I own a copy of and have played, and it is good fun. So it's light, as well as being extremely practical and useful, and things, concepts and ideas and methods that you can apply pretty much from the get-go, and expert advice. So Wealth Battle, that's on Wednesdays. If you need an invite to the Discord, people can send you links, and just ask around, and people can make that happen. Okay, so that brings us to Thursday. Thursday, the only thing I had written down for that happened on Thursday, and I say the only thing, I mean, it was by no means a small thing, was mental emotional kung fu. And this is Daryl Becker's course. Daryl Becker is a season 1 graduate, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I think a long-time Tragedy and Hope subscriber, member. And he has put together the Mental Emotional Kung Fu course. It's currently running through its 2nd season. This is the course that gets me out of bed at 12:45. Once I figured out how to set my alarm for 45 minutes past midnight and not 45 minutes past midday. So I missed a couple of lessons due to that error, but I figured it out. I failed forward, and I think I've attended 4 classes now, and these are masterful, powerful classes. They are transformative. they're also hard work, and I don't mean the kind of hard work that is maybe boring or repetitive or dull. It's the kind of hard work that you feel good after. Maybe a workout at the gym or a spar on the mat with a martial arts partner or something. But as the title suggests, mental, emotional. So Daryl is very skilled at teaching methods and processes, and basically these are a series of questions that you work through, and you use these questions and these processes to really to transform your emotional and mental state. And it's an incredible thing to be part of and to witness. And the participants in this class are very brave and open and courageous and forthcoming, and they're not scared to show vulnerability. And this is something that I think is very much overlooked in this day and age. Is we don't want to show vulnerability, but it's such an important thing to be able to do when we feel vulnerable, to acknowledge it, and to make, and it's a beautiful gift to give to other people, for them to know that they can feel vulnerable around you. And so this course is a very special place in my heart, and I'm extremely grateful to Daryl for putting it on. I know that people who've turned up and participated and gone through the work that he's teaching there have had amazing results in just an hour or two, to really turn around places in their psyche that they may be stuck. And so it's not, I would say it's not for the faint of heart, but I would say it is definitely for people who are maybe getting in the way of themselves. And we ask this question a lot in autonomy. We often ask, what's your biggest obstacle? What's your plan? What's your goal? Where are you trying to get to? And what's your biggest obstacle? And whenever anyone asks me this question, I always say, me, I'm my biggest obstacle. And I think other people probably resonate with that as well. You're getting in your own way. You have inner work to do. Well, Daryl's course is providing you with the workouts and the routines that enable you to do that inner work in a extremely supportive and wonderful environment. And I can't speak highly enough of this course. I'm not sure if anyone else on the call has attended any of these or has had their own sort of experiences, but anybody out there want to speak to mental emotional kung fu and the effect it's had on their lives for them?
Nick, I'll step in again because
Cool.
I really feel strongly about what Daryl's doing, and if you're familiar with
I think you might have frozen there, Michael. Or is it me?
nonviolent communication, things that
That's cool. I got you. My laptop just had to catch up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I think it might be on my end too. No, but if you're familiar with nonviolent communication, this is Daryl's kind of derivation, and he's really taken some of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with nonviolent communication, and he's made it a lot easier, and he's kind of taken those steps and given you kind of techniques, simple techniques to move you down that path to really, taking control of that area between stimulus and response. I'm not sure who the quote is, that between stimulus and response is your freedom. I think that might be Viktor Frankl, but that is certainly what this class is all about, is like taking that space and really giving you the freedom to be able to understand the situation that's going on, instead of letting emotions, take you wherever they've kind of conditioned you to take you. Instead of doing that, it's giving you the ability to use your own mind and use your own body to come up with your own responses to these stimulus. And that's a really important tool. And I'll just say that, like, this is another thing about autonomy, is like when we get all these courses from all these different people, we're also getting these resources, these tools that then as we go out into the rest of the world, we can say, oh, I see you're struggling from that. Here, let me show you some information that might help you out in that situation. And so You know, it's some incredible stuff. And Daryl is genuinely you know, a really smart and caring fella that it comes across, you know, because you know, he really uses himself as an example. And I mean, you know, you're talking about vulnerability, you know, having the practice to be vulnerable and like even see it is something that's kind of unusual in the world that we're living in. But to have that opportunity to visit it and visit it again, this is beginning a practice that like starts to break down these conditioned responses that you know, that many of us have been programmed with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I agree 100%. And actually, that reminds me that I queued up a clip of Daryl introducing and talking about his course. This is from season 1. So it is evolved and is kind of, I think that first run through has helped him to gain more confidence. But Jerry, if you've got that clip, I think it does an excellent job of introducing, in the same way Jay did, of Daryl introducing what he's aiming for and what he's striving to. And I think in this clip, if I remember rightly, we'll find out that, yes, you were correct, it was Viktor Frankl, because he starts with that quote. But yeah, Jerry, if you're there, can we run that? There it is. Awesome.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. See, that's a quote often attributed to Viktor Frankl. That sounds great, but how exactly do you manage your responses? This is a course to give you the skills to practically manage your own response to any kind of event. You'll learn how to better understand the motives of clients and team members. Imagine working with a client for years, and then they suddenly throw you a curveball of accusations, unexpected demands, or a surprising bit of negative feedback. Do you want to throw away everyone in your life who makes things a little more complex for you? Can you afford to? You don't have to. You can learn how to manage your own mental and emotional terrain, gaining balance and making yourself more emotionally bulletproof to words and tones of voice. As you learn this skill, you'll be more able to understand the motives that are driving your clients and team members. And this will help you to close more sales, communicating directly to your counterpart's desires. These are methods that transfer to your skill with writing copy for sales pages and your emails. I'm Daryl Becker, and I've been studying, using, and teaching the skills of critical thinking and emotional balancing for 10 years. I'm the host of my own show, Not Medical Advice, where I help people understand these skills and other options to show them a path to achieve their health goals. I've had great times showing up and having long-form discussions about these skills and other topics on important shows like the Tinfoil Hat Show with Sam Tripoli, the School Sucks podcast, My Family Thinks I'm Crazy podcast, and many, many others. The hosts of these shows told me that I make these ideas way more accessible and understandable than other nonviolent communication teachers and folks who teach the trivium method of critical thinking. I'm here to make these skills into habits that increase your financial success by making all interpersonal jobs easier. I personally use these skills as a licensed acupuncturist and holistic healthcare professional, and I've turned these skills into habits. These habits help me to never take things personally and always focus on the goals in front of me. This is a 5-lesson course every Thursday starting on April 28th.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. So actually, since season 1, he's extended the course, and it's longer now. I think there's 7 sessions, with a final session, the 8th session being sparring. We turn up and we do the work, and that whole last session is devoted to that. So the course is improving and growing as he works on iterations of it. But yeah, I think an excellent thing for people to consider if they are finding they're getting in their own way, or if they're struggling to communicate with loved ones, or with business associates, if they're speaking but not feeling heard. It's powerful, it's wonderful. It's not easy, but it's easy. It's easy to understand. Let's say it's simple. It's simple and easy to understand, but it is a workout. So definitely consider that. Keep an eye out on those sessions. I believe this latest season will wrap up very soon, but at the end of Autonomy season 8, I think the plan is for Daryl to launch Mental Emotional Kung Fu season 3. So you've got that to look forward to on the other side of your first run through of Autonomy for all you new students. All right, so after Thursday's Mental Emotional Kung Fu, we are on to Friday. So Friday was a special day for me. And this is where I kind of get to share with you something that I've done and something that I'm very excited about and happy with and proud of. So a little bit about the sort of backstory here. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I'm season 5. Season 8 is going to be my fourth run through of the course. And I arrived not knowing what I wanted. I arrived not knowing where I wanted to go, what my options were. I didn't know the terrain and the map. My map was not accurate. And I was in a dead-end job. And I had a few ideas and inclinations about what I wanted to do. Oh, hello? Somebody there? But basically, it's taken me 3 run-throughs of the Autonomy course for my sort of project to reveal itself to me and what it is that I want to do. So my kind of quick backstory, throughout the course of Autonomy, I arrived here because I was so impressed with Richard's library and his sharing of the evidence and the references and the books that he had. And I'm a reader. My background is English literature. I have also a background in English teaching, English language teaching. And so I just started buying up these books. And then I got put onto Jay Dyer, and he's recommending books, and I'm buying up his books as well. And then at some point, I'm looking in my living room, and it's full of books, and there's piles all over the place. And I'm thinking, I got to read these things. So that became my project. I thought, all right, how about I read the books, I take some notes, and then I share them with other people. Because at this point, I've got a library which I'm really proud of, and it's books that many people are not aware of, and many people don't have. They can be hard to find. They might be out of print. I spend a lot of time in secondhand bookshops. So I finally, through working with my accountability group and my coach and good friends here in Autonomy, plucked up the courage to make this commitment of reading books and doing book reviews. And on Friday, I just published my 2nd book review onto a YouTube channel. And so I wanted to share a clip now. It's not too long. I think it's roughly about a sort of 3.5 minute clip. And a little bit of the backstory about the book is that it's a book called The Paperclip Conspiracy. And it's a book about the back end of World War II, when the Allies had won, and the war became sort of transitioned into this mad scramble to hire the German scientists who developed all this awesome weaponry that had killed so many people. And they'd used slave labor, and they've been experimenting on humans, and they got lucrative positions in corporations and NASA, among other things. And this was a part of history that I didn't know about 2.5 years ago. I'd never heard of this. I had no idea it happened. And then I heard this Operation Paperclip being mentioned a few times, and people giving an overview of it. And then one day I was in a bookshop and I saw this book, The Paperclip Conspiracy. I just grabbed it, I bought it, and I took it home. And I finally got around to reading it. And yeah, it's eye-opening. It's very interesting. You learn a lot about how the military works and how it interfaces with politics, and how military and politics interfaces with the public. And it's not what it says on the tin. Let's just put it that way. So here's a clip of me reading a short anecdote that I found in the book. And that should be queued up. If you got that, Jerry, please, let's roll it. is Plowright's successor. And then there's a good story of him here, which is about his greatest achievement, which was the salvage of a Mark IV tank from the desert. And he goes to salvage this tank, and he's trying to bring it back, and he's getting attacked, and people are shooting at him, and he's pulling this wreck of a tank. And this is how desperate we were, really, and how far behind we were, that we were risking lives. I said we, I wasn't there, nothing to do with me, but I'm English. They were risking lives to drag wreckages out of war zones to study it and look at it, and just imagine that as a mission. So just before it was, so he pulls this tank in, and then he loads it up on a ship, ready to send back to Britain to be analyzed and hopefully, rebuilt, recreated, so we can upgrade our own weapons. And just before the ship that he's loaded this tank on was due to sail, the ship was bombed in port. Yet Evans heroically rescued his prize, which became the first German tank to reach England. So he's gone into the war zone, dragged this wrecked machine out of it, put it on a boat. The boat gets blown up. He goes onto the boat. He drags the tank out of there, puts it on another boat, sends it back to the UK. That's a pretty impressive effort for a piece of scrap metal. But it just goes to show you the premium and the value that was placed on the German machinery and the German technology. This continues until 1942, and Tom Bauer writes, the Germans, aided by British ignorance and indecision, maintained their technical superiority into 1942. So that's, we've covered 36 to 42 now, 6 years of ignorance and indecision on the part of the Brits. In contrast, the British were in complete disarray and were also on the verge of forsaking their most deeply ingrained preconception, their superiority over the Americans and Germans. So we are really clinging on to this sense of superiority, to this sense of we're better, faster, stronger, harder, indefeatable, and it takes a lot to force the Brits to give it up. But the belated awakening becomes the source of Britain's eventual plan to plunder the enemy's store of technical and scientific knowledge. So that's basically what this book is about, and that's kind of the context. It's this what happens next, as I'll explain shortly, is that there becomes this recognition. It's hard. A lot of people are trying to point this out. A lot of people are getting ignored, but they eventually accept. Right, we need to get some of this tech. The Germans are good at what they do. We're losing to them. Things are not looking good. We've had to get America involved, which is a whole other story that I have a few books about. I might talk about one day. But this is what the rest of the book deals with. This kind of frantic, sort of backstabby rush to get hold of what the Germans know and what they can do. And that's what happens next. Thanks, Sherry. Yeah, so this was, I think this review came in at around 44 minutes in the end. And it's rough around the edges. There's no editing. It's basic old laptop and a pair of headphones, plug and play, recorded via Zoom with pausing. And the room gets darker because I was pausing and reading through the book, finding notes that I wanted, and then unpausing, and then so the light goes dark as I'm on, doing the video. But I just wanted to include it as an example of how we just want to start putting things out there. It's really about just start making something and putting it out there, and you will improve as you go. And that's the philosophy of this podcast. It's do it live. It's show up, make some mistakes, overcome the challenges, put something out there, and in the spirit of Jay, it's put it out there, and people might call it out and say, actually, you got this thing wrong. Great. This is a learning opportunity. I'm going to get it right next time. Thank you for the feedback. And I just wanted to share that because it took me 3 seasons to get to that point of, I could say something and speak and put it out there and share it, and it might benefit somebody out there, somebody like me who has no idea what Operation Paperclip is and that it happened, and might appreciate knowing that part of history, which is certainly not taught in schools. So and that's what it's about. It's kind of about you showing up and doing the thing that you wish someone had done for you, or that you appreciate and wish you'd known sooner, you know. And yeah, thank you for listening to me on that clip. Is there anyone out there who wants to kind of speak to the creative process or the anticipation of sharing something and putting it out there, or has any intentions to do something like this? I know Maddie has started her book club that we mentioned earlier, which is great. I think there's going to be a lot of bookworms in this community, and getting together and talking about what's in these books is super valuable. But yeah, anybody want to sort of speak to this topic of creating and putting things out there, warts and all, and how that is for you?
Nick, I just want to say congratulations, and you know, I'd like to find out where you're going to be publishing future stuff, just to take a look. So well done for taking that next step and you know, actually doing it live in life. So I look forward to seeing how things unfold and develop for you. That's really exciting. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I would like to share. Sorry, I was unable to unmute earlier. My son walked through a spider web, and so I had to wash his hair.
That's a really good excuse. I'll let you off.
Right, yeah. So he was paranoid that there's spiders in his hair. So I experienced a lot of growth due to autonomy in this particular subject, because especially this first week, seeing new students come in, I've had a lot of nostalgia, remembering back to the first time I turned my camera on and unmuted and spoke to Richard in the meet and greet, and I was so nervous. I'm a natural introvert, have always been shy growing up, and you know, there's been experiences that have helped me come out of my shell as I've grown up, like bartending and becoming a reporter. You have to talk to people. So there was a little bit of a baseline there. I knew how to do it, but you know, it's always nerve-wracking. So I did it, and I'm really glad I did, because now I don't get so much of the heart flutters and the face flushing. But man, those first few times I was just so nervous, and my voice would shake. And when I would record a video that I would know would be going out, similar to your new reviews podcast, Nick, I would take like 25 takes, and I still take a lot of takes if I'm going to create something that's going to go out and be seen. But it's so much easier now that I've done the Do It Live podcast 2 or 3 times, and have been in these meetings, you know, several times a week with other autonomizers. It's such an important skill so I'm really appreciative of autonomy for that.
Yes, well said. It's truly something I wouldn't or couldn't have done without the things I learned here in autonomy, and the encouragement and the example set by Richard and the team and the other students. And you know, I could trace it back to really signing up and the different steps and people I met and conversations I had along the way that brought me to this point. 100% entirely due and down to autonomy, and it's what we practice. We speak, we bounce ideas off each other. We have this nerfed up environment where even though we're nervous and we're anxious and scared, it's safe. And everyone's welcoming and gracious, and everyone's encouraging, and everyone really wants to see you succeed. And I say it very often, but the power of having a group of people around you who want the best for you, the best outcome, and want to see you succeed. And when you do, they are genuinely pleased and happy and for you. And it's just you know, it's really hard to put into words. It's impossible to put a value on in terms of money, but it's something that everybody should have. And we come in here, we experience that, and then we take it out of here into our professional lives or our family lives and our friendship groups, and that's really as I mentioned earlier, that's really the torch. It's taking that torch. We come in here, we light it, we learn how to look after it and keep it lit as we're climbing the mountain, and protect that ember and that flame. And then when we get really good at it, we take it out of here and we go and spread it. And yeah, I think it's powerful and transformative. And I it's another reason that I'm super excited for this season 8, is because I have my little project now that I'm working on. Jay Dyer's here. The new influx of students are incredibly inspirational and wonderful people. And I have only talked to one of them on a call. So I'm sure I will experience even greater levels of awe and inspiration as the season unfolds and we get back to reviewing and revisiting the basics of the course and looking at how we can further our own progress on our journey to autonomy. So yeah, thank you, Stephanie. Anybody else want to speak to Michael? You're off mute.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you because the next version of Tim's May and the Magic Bullet is going to be on Reinhard Gehlen, who was like the intelligence guy for the Germans, like I guess it's German or East Army group. He was the head intelligence guy and essentially had all the intel on the communists and the Soviets, and that merged into the CIA. And he was basically involved. He was kind of like the CIA East and Europe. But I'm interested to find out if any of that might be in that paperclip book you got. That's certainly one of the, might be something that I need to take a look at before we do our talk tomorrow on that particular subject, because well, I don't want to get too far involved with it, but I'm certainly interested in reviewing your stuff. And if you're able to make that meeting, it might be you can contribute some of that stuff to that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And I'll check out the index of the book, see if that name's in there. I also have another 2 books on paperclip ordered and in the mail. So I'll probably revisit the topic at some point on the podcast. So yeah, watch this space, and thank you for the invitation to Tim's call tomorrow. I'm not sure what time it is, but you can send me the details offline, I guess. Thank you. All right, that is my contribution to Friday, but of course, the main event on Fridays is Autonomy Friday Night Live. This is the highlight of the week. It's the part of the week that we look forward to the most. It's special for me because again, it's kind of like Grand Theft World. I get to wake up to it, and because it starts at 2 a.m. or something. And if I set my alarm clock, I get up around 6 usually. I have no problem getting out of bed on Mondays and Saturdays, sorry, because Mondays I know Grand Theft World's still rolling, and I'm just up, headphones in, on the call. And the same thing for Saturdays. I'm up, headphones in, on the call, catching the back end of the lecture, and trying to participate in the Q&A that follows the lecture. So this was week 1 for our new students and for those of us who are going through the course again. And I picked out a couple of slides that I would like to share and sort of talk about and hopefully use as a jumping off point for further conversation and discussion for those of you who are here on the call. So Jerry, if you could please share the picture number 1. We'll have a look at that. Yes. All right, so this is a clip. Some weird squares over it, but I'll read it out anyway. I think we can see what it says. So this is week 1 of Autonomy, and we learned to look at this as a fresh start, a mulligan, a do-over, or the first day of the rest of your life. This is it's an incredibly important thing to bear in mind, not only when you start Autonomy, but when you wake up every single morning. We are such victims of our habits and our programming that we received growing up, and our routines and going through the motions, that we kind of forget that we can do new things and change our course every single day. You can wake up and just be a completely different person. You have that freedom, you have that free will. Very few of us do that, some of us do, but it is possible. You could wake up, quit your job, sell your house, move to another city. You could take, the possibilities are astronomical, really. And yet so few of us make that decision. yet it's a possibility of every single day. And I think it's a great thing to bear in mind and think about at the start of the autonomy course, because we come here knowing that what we're doing isn't working, is not getting us where to where we want to be, and we need to do some learning. And off the back of that learning, we need to change our behaviors and our habits. Ultimately, we need to take action. And so this is a powerful message to just remember that you can start each day. And maybe I have a lot of experience with habits and trying to change habits and get rid of bad ones and build up good ones. And one of the key things I figured out on that journey was that, let's say you want to quit smoking, and you manage to do it for 3 days. And then on the 4th day, you buy a pack and you start smoking again, and then you smoke for a week. Those 3 days still count. And then when you quit again, is day 4. Even though it's day 1 of that particular streak, it's day 4 in totality. So it's remembering that even if we fail, we pick ourselves up and try again. And we just keep trying again and keep trying again and keep starting again until it sticks, until we get that success. And this is a really key and important aspect of the attitude that we want to cultivate and bring to our attempts and our efforts towards success, and building out our goals and making our kind of dreams come true, to use a kind of beaten, tired cliche, but I think it applies in this case. And Jerry, if you could please skip to the second picture, which is not an autonomy slide, but it is relevant and it captures this idea. So on this picture, you've got a timeline, you've got today down the middle and a line across the bottom showing the past and the future, kind of like an axis, like a graph. And the dot is there and it's in the middle and it says your life today. And in the past, there are all these branches of possible lives and possible paths that you could have taken, but you didn't. And the time for those is now over. There's certain things you can't go back and change, certain things you can't go back and do, certain opportunities you didn't grasp and you didn't take. And you might feel regret about that. It might keep you up at night. You might cast your mind back. Why did I say that? Why didn't I go to do that? Why didn't I take that job? Why didn't I say yes to that person's offer or no to that person's offer? But it's pointless because it's gone and it's done. And the past is fixed. It's written. It's already recorded wherever the past gets recorded in this reality. But the powerful thing to remember, just like we learned from that slide in autonomy, is you start today and you have way more options than you think you do. And so many of us arrive here in a dead-end job or an uncomfortable living situation at home or without any money, seemingly at a dead end. And we don't realize the abundance of possibility and options in front of us. And I just wanted to linger on that a minute and give you this graph to show you that there are so many options. And this is what the power of the shift that we make in autonomy, to go from that I'm stuck in a dead end mentality to what do I want to do? There's too many things that I want to do. Which one am I going to pick? And it's almost painful because I have to say no to all these other things that would be very worthy and valuable and great, satisfying things to do. So on that point, does anybody want to sort of speak to this this idea of every day is a new day? You can reinvent yourself every day. You can change your course at any time. Do you struggle to remember this? Do you find yourself stuck in the motions and really unable to get out of that? What's been your experience? Does anybody want to speak to that?
Hey, Nick.
Deborah.
I'll speak. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to go back a little ways to when you were talking about your podcast and your book reviews. And I just want to commend you on the commitment that you made to yourself to, you had the idea and then you got clarity on it and then you just did it. And a lot of people don't even do that. Like they get the idea and then, their doubts come in and it just really starves them from the amazing opportunity that could be before them. So I just wanted to say kudos to you for doing that. And I became one of your subscribers over on YouTube. So, if there's somebody over there, you're like, who's that? That's me.
Well, thank you so much. And Deborah, I have to say as well,
and then,
sorry.
yes.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. I just have to say as well that I literally couldn't have done this without you, and I didn't give you the kudos. You graciously gave me time. You asked me some fantastic questions, and through that process of sitting down with you and having those questions asked and having to come up with the answers, that was really the springboard that made me realize, oh, it is possible. I can do this. Somebody out there is going to find it valuable. There's 7 billion people out there. I only need to reach some of them, and it's going to be worthwhile, and it's going to be worth doing. And those, I think, 2 hours that we spent together were incredibly empowering and transformative for me. So I just had to say thank you as well, and throw those kudos back at you, and acknowledge that here for everyone, because it's absolutely true.
Well, sometimes we're just so close to the prize, you know, whatever word you want to call it, that that our doubts can just come up. I mean, the left side of our brain is there to protect us, but it's also, if you don't question it, it could just, you're just so close. And so that's why it's just so exciting, and you're very inspiring. And I just wanted to make sure that I let you know that publicly. So, and I'm looking forward to more books. I am an audiobook consumer, so you're like an audiobook with a face, and you can't beat that. So, so that's basically what I wanted to say. But it did fit into where you're leading off to now, and really every day is like New Year's. Like every day you have the opportunity to design and be what you want to be. And instead of asking, you know, what do I want to be? Maybe you figure it out and you're like, how am I going to do that? How can I do that? And it's amazing that the different people or opportunities that will come up. And when people notice that and take action on them, those are very inspiring people. So I'm just completely inspired by our whole community, and especially with you doing that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's it. It's today. It's the present. It's a gift. It's a blessing. It's a chance, an opportunity, but it takes a shift in perception and mentality to seize it and grab it, and to just to accept that it's true, that you can just change it and change what you're doing and make a start on that thing. And so, yeah, excellent. Contribution and comments there, and I am in 100% agreement, humbled and awed at the outstanding quality of the people in this community, the things they've achieved, the knowledge they've gained, the generosity of time and spirit and expertise. It's humbling. I wish I could be here full time, all day, every day, you know, and I'm working on that. Yeah, so that's it. Today's
well,
a new
hey,
day.
we're building a parallel society, and this is just what it takes. This is what it looks like. So let's shift up. Let's get going whenever people are ready.
Excellent.
Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. So just, it fills my heart, really does, to be part of this and to be here talking to you all. I'm really enjoying this. I've completely lost track of where I was. Let me quickly have a look. Oh yeah, we were talking about Friday night lecture and the slides. Every day is a new day and a chance to take that action and to shift your course. And so that was slide 1 of the one I wanted to focus on. And I picked out a second slide. And Jerry, if you could find that and pull that up. This one has a lot more on it, and it's kind of a cheat sheet. So anybody out there checking this one out who isn't in autonomy already, you are really seeing behind the scenes here. So you might want to pause at this point and have a look. This is kind of the buffet. This is the menu. This is what we keep coming back to learn and practice and hone and develop and improve upon. And there's a lot here. I won't sort of read through it all and read it out, but the one page to success. This is the methodology that if you can embody it and really live it, then you will be successful in your chosen domain, in your chosen area. You will feel better about yourself, about what you're doing in life, about your purpose and your reason for getting up in the morning. This is just I don't know if you could pack any more value onto one slide. And you get this in the first lecture. And yeah, is anybody out there is anything jumping off the slide that is something you're currently working on? Maybe you're coming back to have another go at any one of these things, or maybe one of these is jumping out as the thing that you want to learn for your first season. Any comments out there? If not, I mean, the text is pretty small. You might have
I've got to mention this because it is the number 7, the idea of the art of sales and the problem sourcing and solving. You know, that is certainly one of the things that's distinct. You know, we talk a lot about sales and marketing and autonomy, but it's not the sales and marketing that everybody, you know, feels like it's, you know, trickery and coercion. It's entirely different. It is about this idea of, you know, helping other people find the things that they need and value, and making them aware of choices and solving problems. And this is distinctly different, and it is kind of one of those stepping stones to stepping out of scarcity and into abundance. Is that, like, when we start helping each other solve problems, abundance just starts showing up.
Yes, absolutely. And the art of sales is kind of what I realized as well when I studied this and learned about it, is that the art of sales is not just about selling a thing or a service or a product. It can be an idea, it can be a course of action, it can be convincing someone of, you know, I could have to sell Operation Paperclip as a real thing that actually happened to somebody, because some people might be incredulous and like, no way did we offer lucrative contracts to German criminals and hire them and import them and their families. And I'm like, it's true, and I have to sell that idea to them, you know, and that's sales. And sales is really conversation, but it's persuasion, but it's helping. And this is the thing. And when you combine it with that integrity and that desire to help other people achieve and solve problems and make things better, then it is a superpower, absolutely. And it permeates all aspects of our lives. And so definitely wise to give that a shout out and a spotlight. Another one that I would mention is the integrity, the definition of integrity. You know, part 1, do what you said you do by the time you said you do it. Now, for me, when I learned about this and I started thinking about it, it was jaw-dropping how many things I said I would do that I didn't do, how weak I was in the area of integrity, and how much it takes to improve that and step it up, because it takes quite a bit. It's a transformation. If you're regularly saying, I'll do that and I'll do this, and not following through, it's tricky. You start to hesitate, you know, you're like, oh, I might not do that thing, so I shouldn't say that I'm going to do it. And you catch yourself in these moments. Sometimes I catch myself saying I'm going to do a thing, and as I'm saying it, I'm like, I'm not going to do this thing. And that's an ongoing process of struggle for me, you know, is something I work on with my accountability group. Jerry is in that group, and we have successes and we have failures week after week, but that is an ongoing thing. But it's so powerful when you are, when people know you, that your word is your bond and you will follow through and do it if you say you will. That changes the game. It really does. It changes your relationships. It changes your prospects of work. It changes your ability to have a good life profoundly. And there's a reason, I think, why that is really upfront and step 1. And so, sort of off the back of that and that particular slide, I have another image which Jerry, if you could show it, that's image 4. It's going to be the last one that I share. Yes, so it's the power of tiny gains. And this is from a gentleman called James Clear. Yeah, I think he wrote Atomic Habits or some book like that about, you know, change and changing habits and how much of a challenge it can be. But I thought this was a great image to just encapsulate how 1% better every day compounds and leads to a profound change over time. Whereas 1% worse every day, you're going to get worse, but it doesn't kind of work in the same direction. So it's really about those tiny gains and those tiny wins, and seizing each day to say, I'm just going to do that little bit today. You know, maybe you want to run a marathon, but you never ran before in your life. So today I'm going to do a minute of running. Or maybe today I'm going to put my trainers on and walk to the front door. You know, it's about really just breaking it down to the minimal bit that you are willing to do and you can do, and then showing up and doing that. And over time, you build the momentum. I know I can do it a little bit more, and then you can stretch it and you can build it up. And I just think it's a very important thing to emphasize, that keep coming back, keep showing up, keep contributing, keep asking questions. And it might be that for some people, the important thing is that you just keep showing up and logging in and listening. That might be as far as you can take your interaction with autonomy right now. A lot of us are introverts. A lot of us come in with wounds from our experiences in the world, and the world wasn't what we thought it was, and we don't know how to handle things, and we don't know how to get what we want. And it might be the only thing you can do is log on to the call, put the earphones in, and sit back and listen. Fantastic. Good. Keep doing that. Keep doing it. And over time, that will become easy and familiar. And then you'll be like, oh, I'm enjoying these conversations and interactions and the value people are giving to each other. I want a bit of that. Maybe I'll say hello. Maybe I'll come off mute and just say hello. And it builds up from there. So I think week 1, these are some of the key lessons that we got to learn. Keep showing up. Every day is an opportunity and a chance to take your life in a new direction and to do the work. And that pretty much brings me to the end of my roundup for the week. So we're coming up on 2 hours now, but seeing as I'm done with my bit, does anybody sort of have any final thoughts or things that I forgot to mention, or things they want to bring up and get on the end of this episode?
I'll say congratulations, Nick, and congratulations, Jerry, for putting together a exemplary Do It Live. I mean, now you've set the bar pretty high, and congratulations on that. Lots of good information there, and that last graphic, man, wow, that pretty much sums it up. Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the kind words, Michael. That was what I was aiming for with this episode. I wanted to show what's possible on Do It Live, to set an example for other people to follow, to hopefully make it look doable and possible so that other people will take that plunge. I didn't until my 3rd season of Autonomy. 1st and 2nd, I didn't even consider posting Do It Live in season 5 and season 6. And then for some reason in season 7, I'm like, all right, I'll give it a go. There was an empty slot nobody had picked up. I'll do it. I think I had a glass of wine beforehand. I was nervous, I was freaking out a bit. But I loved it so much. I came back and did a 2nd one a couple of months later. And this is my 3rd. Me and Jerry, we got a good thing going on. I appreciate your excellence showing up and handling the clicking of the buttons and the showing things at the right times. Jerry, how are you feeling about this episode? What's going on with you at the minute? Any closing thoughts and remarks?
Yeah, I want to say thank you, Michael, for the compliment. And there was a 2nd GTW video we didn't play. I heard it was hilarious. Maybe we can end with that.
Yeah, we could do. Why not? Absolutely. Yeah. So the second GTW video. So a little context and backstory to this. I picked this one because it's the end of the episode, and over on the Rockfin, which is a kind of a streaming platform for content creators, free speech. It's a subscription service. It's kind of like Netflix for truth content creators. There are some excellent people on there. It's crazy value, $9.99 a month. Cancel the Netflix. That's garbage. Get yourself on Rockfin. It's awesome. And GTW's Grand Theft World's audience has been growing there. And there's a function where you can tip. And I love this function. You can tip as little as $2. So if you get on there, you learn something and the value is high and you're really appreciative of the effort and the content, send a little tip. And with the tip, you can write a little message. And what they do over on Grand Theft World on the Rockfin is at the end of every episode, for the people who kind of make it through to the end and have that stamina and are still up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, they read out the tippers, and that's Lawrence's job, and he gets to read out the amounts and the comments. And this is a really nice spot. And so one day I was inspired to write a few. I don't know what it was. For some reason, I got this. I got the supercalifragilistic song in my head, and I came up with the line, "Super chat a message is the way to help the show grow." And that line just appeared in my head, and I'm like, "Where's that come from? Let's roll with it." So I wrote this little sort of poem with the rhythm of this song, and then Richard appreciated it, and then that spurred on Daniel from Wiz Cannabis to do a bit of poetry himself as well. And so the clip that I queued up was where Daniel's poem and my poem were read out at the end. And yeah, I just thought it was cool, and it'd be a nice movement to get going. And if it can inspire someone else to put some words together and, you know, create a verse and fire that up there with a little $2 tip to show our appreciation for the masterpiece that is Grand Theft World, then I would be really happy. So yeah, that's the clip. That's the context. Shall we play it? Yeah, awesome.
Members who support us and get to join in the town hall every other Tuesday night. This last one was a lot of fun. And a big thanks to the Rockfin tippers. Let's get through it. Former VP Biden tipped $10. Poll here in the White House tonight. Which kid's suave shampoo scent smells better? Watermelon Wonder or Silly Apple? We got $5 from Wiz Cannabis. It's a Grand Theft World that I'm peering at, disguised like a pyramid. For those tuning in, they be feeling it. Revealing that things ain't what they seem, so I'm fighting back and digging jack, obtaining knowledge, wisdom, and artifacts.
Look at Daniel showing off, keeping up with Nick.
Thank you, Daniel.
Now we got poetry contests in the comments at the end. I like it. We're stepping it up.
It is stepping up. We've got $20 from Sir Dave and Dame Laura of the Sharp Cheddar Milkers. Oh, yeah.
Take it.
It has begun.
And we've got Lawson's and Whistle Pig lined up for the round table. Welcome. $5 from Free Market Worker. $5 from Tommy Riley. Hopefully we could see Catherine Austin Fitz on the broadcast about local banking and cash every day as a small step to reverse the current regime power, as it seems the going direct reset is moving forward. Freethinkers 59, $2. Okay at the trying to stay awake point, but thank you for the show, GTW, and to all of the great and kind chat people in here. Hang on. Small Computer System Interface -1, $5, 300 plus watching. That's true. We've been hitting those numbers the past few weeks.
Thank you, everybody who watches it live. It makes it feel like we're not just doing it for ourselves and the people in the future who watch it.
Yes,
it's like nice to have the live audience.
That's awesome.
$5, Dallas Avad. How good is this interview? Thanks, GTW. Hard to go back to sheep when you're awake. Nick Hayes, $5. Whitney Webb investigates, blazing ahead on the trail. 1,000 pages of solid gold in One Nation Under Blackmail. Volume 1 and Volume 2 will keep you turning pages. Whitney is without a doubt an investigator for the ages.
I think that's probably a clip that could be on her TikTok marketing her book if there was such a thing.
Yeah, there you go.
It's TikTok worthy. And you know, there was a couple other things she said, because I'm thinking like, I don't understand TikTok, but I understand it's like 7 seconds or short videos. So now when I'm hearing like these really tight sound bites, I'm like, oh, maybe there should be a TikTok for Grand Theft World, and we put that clip on there. And then people are like, what? And they don't understand because it's only 7 seconds. So that kind of tricks them into the longer form content. Thank you, TikTok. That'd be a good use for it. But I also cringe at thinking of TikTok. So maybe not.
I also cringe thinking of TikTok as well. So I'm totally on board with Richard there. And I just noticed, Lawrence, you put your camera on. Did you want to contribute at all of this, or are you just showing your beautiful bearded face?
I'm just enjoying the show. You guys are doing an awesome job, and I've been listening in, and keep it up. Can't wait to see what the next week's bring with the new students jumping in and doing it. Yeah, thanks. Great job, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here and listening in. Okay, I think that pretty much brings us to almost exactly 2 hours. Not bad. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for co-hosting, Jerry. It's to anyone who's considering doing the Do It Live, I really recommend getting a co-host, because it's a lot of pressure off when you're not having to click the buttons. It helps a lot, and somebody out there is kind of, they might not want to talk so much and be on the screen and be leading things. They might prefer the kind of slightly off stage job of clicking the buttons and queuing things up. You know, there's different personalities suit different roles. So I would encourage people to, you know, if they're interested in co-hosting, put that out there. You know, if you're budding co-host and you want to find somebody to, you know, lead the thing, just say, hey, I want to co-host. Does anybody want to lead? Or, you know, do the speaking and team up. And I think, yeah, so sincere thanks to you, Jerry. Everyone else who contributed on the call and showed up and listened in, came off mute and contributed. It's been another awesome episode from my point of view. I'm humbled and grateful and happy to be here. And with that, I think let's roll the music and wrap this up.
Ready, set, go.
Yeah, such a good tune.
Good workout, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. Another one in the bag. It's a great feeling. Yeah. So the new students and new faces here, definitely give it some consideration. It's a lot of fun to host.
Now you built some growth rings today, you and Jerry. What do you feel is different after the show than before the show?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Jerry?
Short answer is good.
Yeah. I mean, I think it went like Jerry, your playing and pausing and stopping and having things queued up was just perfect as far as I could tell. You know,
Shit, man. Jerry was even hitting control. He was even hitting Control Plus and zooming in. He's like, get that slide up so people could read it.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it, man. Awesome work. It made. I don't think I'll ever do a podcast without you, Jerry. That's how I'm feeling. That's the difference now.
That's good. Now, you had expectations before the podcast, and you tried to express those expectations through the podcast. How do you feel you did according to how you thought you were going to do?
I feel like it went well, actually. I feel like I spoke with more parhesia than I have done previously. I wasn't hesitating. I feel like I'll probably watch it back and realize every other word was an or an R, but I felt like my flow was pretty good, and I think that was better than I expected it to be, because I reviewed that book review video that I made, and I'm making notes like, okay, I got to stop saying basically, and I have to stop saying you know, and I have to stop saying and I feel like there was less of that on tonight's show.
So give yourself another option. So when you notice that you're doing that, go to the thesaurus and look up basically and find 5 other words for it and write them down. And every time your brain wants to pull the word basically, teach it another word to grab. Basically.
Well, I've got you all here. Any good words for basically? Jay Dyer's here. Maybe you know some other words for basically. You got a lot of words.
Roundabout. Just one that comes to
You could
mind.
say in essence.
Essentially, or in
Generally.
essence.
Yeah.
In practical terms.
Nice. That's my 5.
Yeah, in essence, that's a good throw too. In concept, in general terms, right? Not specifics, but in general terms, and then that's a replacement for basically. And then that gives your brain's like, oh, you're looking for more detail? I can give you more detail, and it starts to help you fill those in.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. That's
By
really
the way,
good tip. Thank you.
I did not notice your use of basically at all, right? So this is another point. The things that are in our expectations and then in our, rethinking of what just happened, right? The things that stick out to you are not necessarily the things that stick out to the audience. And so then you have a choice. You could put for instance, Dan Locke is a famous entrepreneur, and he's featured throughout the course, and he's very wealthy and very successful. But his native language is Mandarin, and his English is his second language, and he didn't have a formal teacher, and he has a tough time pronunciating certain letters. And so he went and spent $40,000 to get a speaking coach so he could learn to see these letters. He also spent like 50 grand on a breathing coach for when he's public speaking to teach him how to breathe properly from the diaphragm, right? But I will tell you this, that's because he has money to burn, not because that's what he has to do to be successful, because he became successful without having the letter R in his vocabulary. He can't pronounce it, but it didn't stop him, right? So from his perspective, the things he needs to work on are not necessarily the things that hold you back from being successful.
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Like if you say all the time, but people understand what you're saying and you communicate, then it works. It doesn't matter. And there's diminishing returns to trying to perfect those aspects that are beyond other people's perception. Does that make sense? All right, cool.
100%. Yep.
Now ask the audience what they noticed that you could work on. Like for instance, I'm going to say, we should get you a little light for in front of your face so that you can pop, right? And just little things like that are going to help your message carry. But you could try for weeks to replace, whatever basically, right? And it's not going to make a lick of difference in who watches you, how effective they find you as a speaker, these sort of things. So it's like, weigh it on the scale. And I know I've chased these things for years. I was like, if I can just get the background to be unfocused, if I could have a more expensive look to my video footage, that'll get more views. And it does to an extent, but not when you're blacklisted, algorithmically censored, these sort of things, right? So maybe I should have been figuring out other places to get my message out rather than upping studio quality, right? So there's diminishing returns. And so you have to actually figure out what is the next blockage, challenge, obstacle in front of you, and how do you strategically and tactically attack it and obliterate it so you can move forward? Because we can spend a lot of time. I would say you working on basically is you going sideways. You're not going backwards, but you're not going for. It's not the thing that's holding you back. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's a very minor point. Other people probably don't notice it. It probably only stands out to me. And it might be one of those things that people don't notice until I point it out, and then they notice it. And before that, it was like, well, we were oblivious.
Now we're all going to play a drinking game when you speak. Okay. So again, so this is part of the perk of you having put yourself in the hot seat today and hosted, is now you get to grow a little bit faster than anybody who was just a spectator, right? Because now you're thinking about these things. So ask the audience about things they noticed that you could do to improve, and you would be like sucking up the value of this situation.
Audience,
let's see.
What did you notice? Anything I can improve or work on? I'm well aware of the lighting. I'm well aware of my mic is could be improved. Any other things relevant to the delivery or the way I speak or my pacing, these kind of things? What do you think? Please and thank you.
Nick, yeah, just congratulations on everything, and what amazing value and insights just delivered by Richard there. And I'm hoping that this is still being recorded, because I want to go listen to that again. I just felt that the podcast got better and better as it progressed, and I think it's because of the confidence that you and Jerry, you trust each other, and the more the show progressed, the more confident you became, and you just trusted your gut and you went with it. That I'm jealous that you're having this. Oh, I'm glad for you that you're having this experience, but I'm jealous that I'm not experiencing it. But I want to experience it. So fantastic! Congratulations on everything, man. You're living proof of exactly what we should be living and doing, and I can't wait for the more insights like that. That's a fascinating insight about. When I do things, one of the things I want to work. No, sorry, it's not about me.
Oh, go ahead.
No. But it's such valuable insight that Richard just said about the things that you think you need to work on, and he's saying, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's detracting from what you going sideways. That's fantastic. Like and and all that stuff. That stuff I worry about. But he's saying maybe that that's not the be and end all. It's about what you're communicating, and yes, you can probably tweak things and improve things, but yeah, I wish I could offer you some valuable insights, Nick, but I think you're living proof, and you inspire me that I'm going to do this as well. I've already applied for 2 slots, so we'll see what happens, but there you go.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's the greatest compliment. If you watch this and you feel like you want to do it, that was my goal. That was my intention, was to get other people up here and having this experience and giving it a try, and getting the feedback. And so that's awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to your episodes.
And Van, you get your wish, because the show is still going on. That we just let Nick think he ended the show so that he could relax and be himself. And this is actually the best part of usually each episode, is when the host puts their guard down and they think the show's done, and then they get all this great feedback. And now is where the growth actually happens. Like, he just triggered his complexity by hosting, but now he's growing. He's getting the nutrition to fortify that growth stretch that he just did. So he's like builds another ring on his tree trunk.
Yeah, and it is recording. Good question. Still recording.
Amazing.
So.
Amazing. Thank you.
I would add a couple things. I feel like really you should, and kind of what Richard said, is look at the things that you're strong in and the things that really came across well. To me, the things that you're talking about, that you know about, that come across easily, certainly like the people that you're dealing with, that you feel strongly about, to me, and the relationships and the things that you do well, certainly like that clip from Grand Theft World, where you're just adding into this stuff, and it's creative, and it you can just see that there's like new ideas popping out of this, because you throw in that thing, and Lawrence contributed to that, and it was just like a fun little experience. that we all got to take note of, because not all of us can stay for 6-7 hours on Sunday night to to view this stuff. But now you've just given us a little tidbit of like the fun stuff that you guys are doing, like right at the end, that people can jump in and add to. To me, that was gold right there.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the kind words. I'm glad the poetry was a hit.
I'll just add one other thing is I've been advocating for Udly. You can take your 40-minute podcast and just load it up to Udly, and it'll give you a bunch of metrics that you can measure yourself on. One of the things that I've taken note of in using it is like the rate of words. It'll give you like a little graph of how the words are coming out and coming up. And
Wow.
in a lot of cases, we have like something that we're excited about, and the rate of words that we're using goes up, and you can see that there's like a maximum that people can understand and so forth. And maybe you go over that a little bit. But if you look at that content, you'll probably take note of like, hey man, I'm really confident here, man. This really shows. And if you kind of design your presentation so that like when you really want to hit a high point, you put those things into place so that rate of words goes up, and you feel that level of excitement, and it jives with the content and the kind of point you're trying to make. So that's another. So those tools are there. It's a free application. You can check that out and just look at some of it, because it does it does create a transcript. It talks about the words that you use, like the crutch words. But also there's also the other words that you're emphasizing, and this is another kind of little psychological thing is peppering in the words that you want people to focus on. And some of those words are powerful words. And so like if there's particular words that you really want to bring about, and some of these things are kind of like empowering words, that's another thing you can think about. And so like once you start seeing like what's the words that I'm saying, if the words that I'm repeating are kind of negative in nature, those are things that you probably want to get rid of. And the words that are empowering in nature are the things that you want to add more of.
Right. And is that UDELY?
It's YOODLI.app.
Wicked. I've never heard of that before, but it sounds extremely useful, and I'm looking forward to trying that out. I'll run my book reviews through it and see what happens.
Check it out.
Yeah, thank you.
And Nick, DM me your poem, and I'll use it to promote Whitney's book on Twitter.
Okay, will do. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
let's do something. Let's do something with that. Let it see the light of day, for goodness sake.
Yeah, there's something strange on my Rockfin app. I went back to get it and capture it and copy it to a note, but it wouldn't display it. And then I was in the Library of Cognitive Liberty finding the clips, and then I saw the Rockfin, the tip comments are underneath in Kajabi, and I was like, oh sweet, I didn't know they got preserved there. So I grabbed it from there, and yeah, I'll send it over, Richard. And I did notice when Whitney Webb was talking, she used a lot, so I'm relaxed about that one. I do wonder sometimes where these filler words and phrases come from. Is there a history to them, and how did they come about, and have they always been there, or not? And it might be an interesting thing to study. But
I think there is something about in regard to crutch words being this idea of essentially being afraid of allowing for silence, and allowing for thought, and allowing other people to maybe enter into the conversation. And so that's my understanding of it. I do feel like crutch words are a way to demonstrate self-discipline, for your own self. So I think those are important. But
there's another function
I'm
as
as
well.
guilty as anybody else when it comes to those kind of things. I've been doing like Toastmasters for 15, 30, I don't know how many years, but I'm still sucking at it, as far as I'm concerned. Richard is certainly an inspiration in that regard, man. When it comes to like being able to represent yourself well, watching Richard is like, oh yeah, that's why I keep listening. That's why I keep coming back to Richard, man. It's like that's the goal I want.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just listening to it and exposing ourselves to it, and the way sentences are constructed, put together, and ideas are constructed, we absorb that, and we get better at those patterns. And I think there's a lot of value, at least that's what I tell myself when I'm listening to hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of podcasts. Any other feedback or areas that I can focus on, or suggestions, or things that I can do to improve?
Do more of it, because you're just gonna get better and better at it. I can see it already. It's just becoming like a natural thing for you now. So I'm jealous, but I'm happy for you.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, that's my intention. I'm gonna keep reading books, keep putting out book reviews. I won't hog too many Do It Lives this season, but if there's any that don't get picked up, I'm always here, ready to flex the muscles and do a workout. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what this season's crop of students can do, because it's inspirational group, as every intake has been since I joined. But I don't know, I feel some extra electricity and excitement for this season. I don't know why. Might just be me, but maybe it's just ready for liftoff. Somebody said that right at the beginning. I can't remember who it was. Somebody said ready for liftoff. Oh, I think it was Adrian Piazza. He was season 5, and he came back after a bit of a hiatus, and he was saying he's ready for liftoff, and I was like, that's it. That's what it feels like. So yeah, thank you all for the kind words again. Any more feedback while
I was thinking, since I was unable to unmute when I really wanted to earlier, I was just kind of thinking about how to get more engagement, and reflecting on what I've noticed. Something Joshua will do is private message somebody, be like, hey, do you want to share about this? And maybe there's other tips and tricks that you could ask other hosts to get more engagement. Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He did reach out to me. I just am not unavailable because I'm working, but I'm listening.
Got all
no, the other thing you can do to address that, Nick, is like, okay, so you're watching a clip and you're like, does anyone want to comment on that? And then there's that awkward silence, right? And then you want to fill that, and no one wants to listen to the silence. So the way I learned to overcome that is something like this. And I do it on the show all the time. So like I'll say, control room LD, I want to throw to this clip, and I'm going to give you a couple minutes to go find that clip, and I'm going to fill the space by talking about that clip until you find that clip, and then you're going to push play and I'll stop talking, right? Yeah. So in this essence, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to open the floor here for your comments. What did you think about last night's lecture? And then give them some handholds, right? They might not remember the lecture, but then you're like, you bring up this part and they're like, all their synapses wake up and they're like, oh, that was fantastic, or I didn't like that, or whatever, right? But you have to be able to give the audience those handholds so that they can kind of get equal footing, and then they can participate with you in that back and forth. And if you watch somebody like Jones, who has like, millions of hours of online experience, like he is able to prime either the control room or the caller and be able to like run it really tight. And so like you can wait 25 years until you have millions of hours of experience, or you could just study the heck out of people who do it like at the top of their game and like glean, right? And
Yes.
that little bit of glean is a big difference to you. It's not so much a big deal to him. Like if he had silence, people would hang on it. But on yours, like you need people to maintain attention and interest, and you have to deliver then value. Otherwise, they're going to click and go someplace else. Right?
Yes. Excellent. Excellent advice. And I hadn't even, I was just enjoying being here and doing it so much. I didn't even feel awkward in those silences, but I was relieved when people spoke up. And thank you, Michael. You're always first one up, man, and I appreciate your willingness to contribute and to support in that way. And everyone
Mike's
else
like the fucking Coast Guard, dude. He's in there. He sees you're in the drink. He's like jumping out of a chopper with the line and the hoist for you. Yeah, he's been there and done it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So thank you. Yeah, and yeah, great. It's that I'm gonna definitely pay more attention to how other hosts and presenters handle that, particularly during interviews or call-ins or Q&As, because I thought about doing more structured notes about what I want to say, but I really enjoy the spontaneous creativity and improvisation in the moment, so that I'm talking and I don't really know where I'm going to go with things, and that's the real joy for me, is that creativity and just doing it live, doing it on the fly, but being able to naturally fill the space with value and allow people to have those handholds to contribute on. That's something I'll definitely work on.
It's been an evolution too, because Joshua started the Do It Live podcast on Saturdays, and he was just giving you like the replay of the week, and he was building up his public speaking skills. But then with the exercises we were doing for the autonomy students, it just made sense that it's like, as an extracurricular, let's see if anybody wants to try hosting the podcast on Saturdays, and it all came together.
Perfectly.
I would, one of the things I think is a possibility also, Nick, is a suggestion maybe, and maybe this is for everybody else, kind of like starting up with a discussion of what things, like if you got the audience here initially, like what are the things that, put it in the chat or whatever, of the things that you thought were really significant from this week. And then, based on what your plan of action is, how you fit those things in, then you can basically call on those people when that topic comes up, as it goes on. So maybe that's another way to, like stop that dead space. But, you do have that situation where you're trying to click on the dang mute button to unmute, and it is a few seconds there that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
And as a production thing, there are people that think Mike's in a club right now with those lights flashing on him, but really it's the daylight behind him tricking the sensor in his webcam on the white balance, and it's trying to auto every time he moves. It's like, oh, is this the color white? No, is this the color white? And it shifts from like the yellow to the blue hues, and I find it entertaining. And I just wanted to discombobulate anybody who might have thought their screen was going wonky. It's just like how sunlight works with sensors. It's pretty cool, right?
It is good.
It's like Newton.
It happens on the, and I was trying to find a clip in the episode, Richard, of you doing the speed of science dollar on the note card. I think that was the most recent episode. But there's a GIF of that moment, and it's a great GIF because you've got a real, I don't know, I want to say cheeky smile and grin after doing it. You're like, it's just a really good GIF. I don't know who cut it, but
no, I think I think as I did it, I smiled at the camera and said, "LD, this is the thumbnail for this," and that's how we did it. Because I was just like, I wanted to explain. So, did you see the clip where I explained that? Because I think it was the highlight of the comedy that night. I had to look up. I was in a physics book. And I was searching because I was like, look. She made me feel really inept, that woman from Pfizer, because she's talking about the speed of science. And I was like, I went through engineering classes and calculus and physics, and I went to my physics book, and I'm going through there, and the speed of science isn't in there. And, oh, she made it up. Okay. So that was the gist of that. Yeah. And
I remember it. I couldn't find it, but I wanted to put that in the episode today.
It's probably censored. Yeah, Shadow Band on Rockfin. They don't want you to see that clip. No, it's just
I
a
was going
7-hour
through
show, so it's hard to find.
Yeah, I was going through on Kajabi, and I could only do it every 2 or 3 minutes and scrubbing through the whole episode to find it. But my point is that it happens on the GIF. So the GIF loops, but the light adjusts, and I don't know exactly what it is, but a similar effect to what's happening with Mike's camera now.
Yeah, I didn't see the GIF. I saw the meme of the year award.
All right, that was it. That was a good moment.
And Nick, sorry, you mentioned the word parrhesia. And yeah, and it made me think of something else that Richard said, that it's not so much you when you worry about how you present it. I found that when doing these the integration exercises, the interviews, one thing that I've learned from that is, when I'm interviewing someone or interviewing me and I'm answering the questions, after you do a lot of them, you kind of your response becomes kind of automated, and people can pick up on the authenticity of what you're trying to convey or what you're saying, and some have actually called me out on it, and I'm grateful for that, because it just shows you that you can maybe try and bullshit yourself, but other people will pick up on that energy, and I felt like as the show progressed, you embrace that, and it kind of comes through to people. I don't know if that makes sense, but that I felt that, and
no, he relaxed.
That's what
he stopped being focused on himself, and he started focusing on serving the audience. And once he figured out, it's a pacing, right? So for me, it might be like the first 10 seconds of an episode, or it might be the first 3 minutes where I work through that, right? But then you get in the stride and you learn how to just do that. Now, the other thing that you brought up is parrhesia. And if I have permission to blow your mind and change your paradigm, you can go into, you have access as an enrolled student to the Library of Cognitive Liberty. And also as a Grand Theft World member, you have access. And if you go to the Peace Revolution podcast and listen to episode 8, it's called Parrhesia, the Need for a Conscious, Comprehensive Curriculum. You'll hear the plan for this course 10 years, 15 years ago. It was an audio message I made to George Clayton Johnson, who was a famous screenwriter that we used to work with. And I was pitching him, I'm like, this is the problem and this is the solution. And then I ended up just making a podcast episode out of that audio message that I sent to him, because I figured he wouldn't read a long thing, but he would listen, and he did. And then we worked together for several years after that until he died.
Thanks, Richard. I'll definitely listen to that again.
Oh, again? You've already heard it? You're good then, man. Sorry for underestimating.
No, but I have to listen to some of the stuff multiple times before I really get it. So, but thank you for that.
Touche. Well played, man. It's because you're in Tomorrowland all the time. You're a day ahead of me. He has the advantage. All right, back to Nick.
Oh, all good, all good. Yeah, it's certainly, I loosened up. I think I felt, because I'm never quite sure how it's going to go, if I've done enough preparation, if the pacing is going to be good. But actually, how was the pacing? How did people find it? Did I ramble too much in areas, or did it sort of flow? Was it, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
There's a couple places where I'm like, you could throw to Jerry, right?
Yeah.
So if you think back to watching old sports back in the day, you had the play-by-play, and then you had the color commentary guy, and that made radio broadcasting of sports super popular. And when I was a kid, they still had this. So I remember listening to radio baseball games with my grandfather on his porch. So they kind of moved it into TV, but now they got 3, 4, 5 guys on TV, and you can't really tell what's going on, and they don't even know what's going on. But if you just think of you and Jerry as, he's the guy playing the clips, and he can help you comment, and he can look stuff up for you. There's a whole bunch of roles that he can play in his position. And then you are basically, pitching to the audience, presenting, showcasing the clips, helping them find and draw the value out of it, helping them find the source material, Like if you think what Kanye said right here was provocative, you should watch the whole clip, and they've banned it everywhere, but it's over here, right? Help people find the things they're looking for. So I don't know. Instead of saying, can I help you find something? It's like, why'd you come to the store today? Like, what made you come out of the house and into the store? Like, oh, my toaster broke. Great. Are you looking to replace it, or you want like a microwave? Great. So like, it's just a series of questions we ask, and we have to be good listeners and try not to lead people toward predetermined conclusions, because that's cringeworthy, right? So if you walk in a store and I try to sell you a big screen TV and you're like, I'm here for a toaster, you think I'm a cringeworthy salesperson, right? But if I see you walking toward the TV section and say, you know, do you have any questions? Have you researched any of these? You know, what's important to you? Are you using it indoor or outdoor? That might be my first great question. A lot of people are putting TVs on the terrace. They have to be brighter, right? So there's all these things that you can break into with it. But it should never, ever, ever, for you or your client, feel cringeworthy or anything other than a normal conversation. And if it feels like you're having to push or convince somebody, leave them to Jesus, man. It's not worth it, because you're just eroding your own skill set by compromising in any of those situations.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Very, very well said. And yes, definitely something I've noticed and employed since enrolling in autonomy is that there's areas I've mentioned before on maybe Q&As that family members have called me at various times preachy, condescending, and there's a third one as well, which I forget. You know,
everyone goes through that phase because we're not taught proper rhetorical skills. And if you really want to communicate with somebody, you ask questions, right? Think about great songs. Think about great songs that start with a question. How many roads must a man walk down before he calls himself a man? Yeah. Right? The answer's in the wind, whatever the other Bob Dylan song. There's a whole bunch of great folk music, and it's asking questions, and that's the part that makes it great, because everybody in their own mind is thinking of the thing, right? And I don't know. So if someone says you're preachy, yeah, I would say, thank you. I totally don't mean to be preachy. You indicate, and I would explain the misunderstanding. You indicated you had a problem that you didn't know how to solve. And I have experience in that area. I was trying to help you, but you're not ready to solve the problem yet. And I understand you want to just be felt in this situation. It might be you talking to a female because she just wants you to feel and not solve the problem. Because that's a whole dynamic, dude. Right? Yeah. If my wife comes to me and as soon as like she tells me, I'm like, well, let's solve the problem. No, she wants to be heard first. And you know, so there's this whole process you have to learn. It's just men communication.
From Mars, women from Venus. Or is it the other way around?
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah. I mean, that's the popular handle for that.
Yeah. But that's what he says in the book as well. I read it, some of it with my wife, and we were just looking at each other like, that's us. What? Because it's so true. And that fixing things that want to provide a solution and, well, just do this, X, Y, Z, problem solved, now get over it and move on with your life.
None of the gears in a watch are the same, but they are all complementary, right? So it's about learning how to mesh together so we can all do our thing.
Yes.
And not grinding our gears, because that's bad for everybody.
But I appreciate the input. I think that's going to be my next next time I do this. Is it's going to be more about getting other people involved, getting the dialogue going and the conversation going, a little more focus on that. Because I've used the same structure 3 times now, you know, just walking through the week, day by day. It might be nice to mix it up.
Well, as a for instance, you go to a town hall meeting and there's a dilapidated park, and your vision is this could be a playground for kids, or it could be some community center or food bank or what have you, right? Now, if you go there and start telling these people that what they're doing is wrong and here's how to do it the right way, they're going to crucify you. But if you go there and ask them questions, what was this park used for in the past? How many generations had, you know, their children brought up on this park? Why has it become dilapidated? Who's doing something about it? Who has to take responsibility to fix this? And then somebody would be like, well, I could loan you a bulldozer, and our company will sponsor some lumber, right? And then you have like community service, like naturally grassroots sprouting up, but it only sprouts up from the question mark and not the declarative sentences in most cases. So it's a general rule, but specifics can violate that rule. But, you know, does that make sense? Does it translate across the pond to you?
Yeah.
At this hour of the day?
That loud and clear. And also, I just remembered that when you ask a question, people, it's kind of like people react by answering it. It's a inbuilt instinctive response. So, like if you approach somebody with an object and you go to pass it to them, most of the time they'll hold their hand out to receive it without even looking at it or seeing what it is. It's kind of hardwired into us. So when we hear a question, to at the very least kind of imagine an answer or fill in the blank, internally. And so that really gets people's focus and engagement up, just to have that question. I was trying to do that. I was trying to ask questions, but I might have made them too wordy, or maybe not given in a clear enough, like you said, handle for people to grab onto and feel like they wanted to contribute with. So maybe I can work on my questions as well.
Nick, I think maybe just a little bit more pauses in between the handles, because that kind of aligns with, you want to give space, but you don't want that awkward, or, you said you were comfortable with the awkward silence, but I think some people don't want to fall into that awkward silence. So if you're leaving a little space in between the handholds and just spreading out, your handholds.
Nick, Brett Venat used to be so sensitive to the silence on an episode that we used to like purposely be silent so he would have to break the silence, because like I'm comfortable, I'll sit there for a minute, but he would have to be like, isn't anyone going to say anything? Are we still live? Yeah, we tease our friends. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's good. Just waiting to see how long he'll last.
There's a TED talk called The Power of Big Talk, I think. It might be a little bit different than that, but the main thing is the big talk, and the idea of asking questions that, like invite people in is kind of one of the subject matters in that particular video. And it is one of those things that there are questions that just really appeal to people. And asking those kind of questions will, get a lot more involvement.
Yes. And speaking of TED Talk, I was thinking about calling my book review series The Evidence Den, and then just shortening it to TED, and then trying to like ride off the back of some of those, the algorithm results, search results on YouTube,
Maybe that could be a series. Like the overall thing is Hayes Reviews, and then there's a series of them that's The Evidence Den.
Ooh, I can use both. Nice. I'll check that TED Talk out as well. Thank you, Michael. And yeah, I was thinking about the 10 books that you recommend, Richard. Starting with Tragedy and Hope 101 and going on to I've got 9 out of 10 now. I haven't got Technocracy Rising yet. I might skip Tragedy and Hope, the full text, and that could be the Evidence Den series, perhaps, and be a playlist on YouTube. So yeah, thanks for that suggestion. It's a good idea. What else? Anything else? Any more value for me while I'm here? Awesome.
No, Nick, but I just wanted to mention to Richard, last night there was people trying to get onto the Q&A, but they couldn't, and even though they were trying to raise their hand, and I don't know if that was by design or if it was, I don't think it was, but I just thought I'd mention it just in case you didn't know that was happening. I don't know if Richard's still
I
here,
initially missed the prompt to enter as a panelist instead of staying as just an attendee, so maybe they missed it too, or
okay,
didn't get it.
Yeah, so at Q&A, so first off, my natural reaction is anytime a yellow hand goes up, I just lower it, because 95% of the time somebody hit it by mistake, right? So just from doing, like, my average is like 100,000 minutes a year on Zoom, right? So like from being in meetings all the time and seeing hands go up, I'm just used to lowering them, because usually people just speak up and ask the question. They don't raise their hands, right? And so last night that was probably going on, and I don't know if maybe Joshua didn't see it or they didn't see the prompt to become a participant instead of just a panelist, or whatever the difference is. See, I haven't shadow hosted anything in a while, have I? It's funny when Stephanie sets me up with interviews, because like I don't have my producer or anyone in between. So then I'm running Zoom. I got to press buttons. It keeps me young. I like it. It's good triggering complexity. So good pickup on that, and we'll try to make that more clear for next Q&A. Starting tomorrow. Tomorrow, everyone comes in at the meeting, so you don't have to unclick anything.
Speaking of the next Q&A, I don't know if it's on the forum or the events list. I can't see it there. It's not on my calendar either. I don't know. I've just overlooked it. I'll go and have a look to check.
Yeah,
But,
so it's 12 noon tomorrow. There'll be a Zoom link, and if you just text or DM Joshua and ask him, maybe it's just not on the forum calendar yet, but it's in Zoom. So there is a link, and it's set someplace.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think I'm going to love you and leave you. This is another wonderful experience. Thank you all for coming here and making it special and contributing. Yeah, I'm just filled with gratitude and appreciation for this community and for all of you, for all y'all, as you say over there, over the pond.
And well done to Jerry as well for standing up.
Yes. Jerry, yeah. I'm going to throw
smooth play, Jerry. Good job. Yeah, Nick, what you could do is you could have people write the question and Jerry reads it. You know, he's like, hey, and that's not for this meeting, but if you guys do a public show, that's a popular thing. Just like LD reads the super chats at the end, you know?
Yes.
You guys will work out your format.
Yeah, because in this one, all the messages come to me, right? It's not a public chat, is it?
The Nick and Jerry show.
It works. It's got a ring to it.
The Nick and Jerry show. Oh.
Yeah. Now I need to get my guitar and write a jingle.
Yes, you do.
Project. We're good. All right. Thank you, Richard. And thank you, everybody else. I'm going to close out the meeting if that's all right. Any further
Thanks,
business?
everybody. Good workout, especially after Nick thought he was done. See, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm getting tired. Otherwise, I would stick around for even longer. But it's 11:15 p.m. now. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Diminishing returns. You're good. Always leave on a high note. All right. See you guys tomorrow at noon, Sunday noon Eastern time for Q&A. Peace.
Roger that. Peace. Bye, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Amazing value. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, man.